Good evening. We are going to call this meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. We'd like to welcome everyone to the regular board meeting. At this time, we would ask that you all stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Now the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That brings us to item number 1 and item number 2, review of the agenda and adoption of the agenda. Any additions, changes?
I'd like to make a request for consideration, for 4 on update from the high school plans for the prom and graduation. I'd like to scratch out the graduation piece of it and make a 4A where it says, update, discussion and approval of graduation ceremonies.
So 4A would be approval
And discussion?
and
Discussion for graduation ceremony.
And then prom would be left at 4?
Yeah, just update on.
Update on prom? Okay,
Because I think that's this weekend.
correct.
And then we can, got a couple others, if you want to just list them.
That's fine. Well, I guess
We
this,
want to go through this
you've
first?
got to have 2 people. Okay, that one.
Okay,
I'll second.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're good on that one. So 4A stands.
okay. And then, on item 7, where it says consider approval of Senate Bill 128, I'd like to reword that and say, consider approval for Senate Bill 128 application.
I agree to that.
I'm good with that. Okay, so that one stands.
And then, I'd like to add one other, bullet at the end of internal board business. A motion for board member comments.
So 30, 30,
Well, do you, I don't know if we'll put it
15A.
there or put 15A. I'd rather do it like
15.
15A, yeah. That way it gives any board members, they want to make a comment.
Do I have 2 board members?
They're good.
You're good? I'm good with it. Okay.
I have one also I'd like to add if I could. And I don't know where you want to put it, probably under student support services. Consider approval and renewal of the part-time adjunct instructor at the Area Technology Center for EMT certification program for $8,700 total.
Okay, that was, you're going to repeat.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think we got that. I don't think we got that.
Consider approval and renewal of the part-time adjunct instructor at the Area Technology Center for EMT certification program for $8,700. And I'm not sure where you want to put that.
Maybe 13A.
13A?
13A. And that would be Ms. Ryan and myself presenting that.
I'm fine with it. You're good
Oh,
with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay, anything else?
Anybody have any questions? No.
All right. Anybody like to make a motion on the amended agenda?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Ms. Richardson, second. By Ms. Hendricks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 3, approval of minutes for the March 15, 2021 regular meeting and April 12, 2021 special meeting. This will have to be split up because I wasn't there for the special meeting, so I won't vote on it. So,
Make a motion to approve March 15th minutes.
I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I'll make a motion to approve, April 12th special meeting minutes.
Motion by Mr. Talbot.
I second.
Who was that? You?
Constance.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with Mr. Ritchie not voting.
Who's there?
Constance. Okay, student and staff recognition.
Yes, we have some students tonight to recognize, and most of them are in the hallway, so if they want to make their way in a little bit, we'll be calling some names in just a minute. Each year, Churchill Downs hosts a big event for the opening night of the spring meet leading up to the Derby. This year, it's taking place on Saturday, April 24th, 2021. For the opening night event, they highlight the arts in our region. The Louisville Youth Choir submitted the Virtual Kentucky Project for consideration as featured artists for this event, and they were selected. This group in front of you were selected. This means that during the opening night event, Churchill Downs will be playing the Virtual Kentucky Choir Project featuring 12 of our Clark County Baker Bulldogs. Congratulations to this group, and also Miss Stephanie Arthur for her 12 kiddos that were chosen here. And I'd like to recognize each of those, and when your name is called, if you'll step right up in the front where Miss Ritchie is, she has a certificate for you, a frameable certificate. Miss Caroline Brookshire. You can go right in the middle. We'd like to get a picture of everybody, because we're going to get these on your website, Caroline. You're fine.
Okay, you can stay right here if you want, because that's where they want you.
Caroline, stand right there. We'll do a group photo after everyone's single.
Our second one is Charlie Craig.
Good job, Charlie.
Miss Emma Galloway.
Good job, man.
Miss Lillian Griffith. Miss Ella Kidd. Reagan McCormick. Allison Mullins. Misha Richardson. Emma Roberts. Brianna Seals. Macy Watson.
Hang on, Mr. Mouth is low. One down. There we go. Good job, Macy.
And Whitney White. Mr. Mounts is probably out of cloud space for all photos. What we didn't tell you guys was that you get to do a performance for us. Everybody ready to sing? Do your individual parts? Thank you all and congratulations. You all can head back out if you want to head out.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Good job.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good job, Rebecca.
Way to go, ladies.
Good job. Nice job. All right, Miss Stephanie, is Stephanie here? She's not here. I didn't think she was here, so that's the instructor. She's not here. We'll make sure that we can get that pronounced. Yeah.
Left me hanging.
Thank you. Thank you, that's the recognition
All right, we are now moving on to public comments. And we are going to start with Letitia, what is it Allen?
You can say that.
What do you got it signed in as? I can't read.
Folks, yeah.
Books, okay.
Yeah.
She's always Tish Allen to me, so. She is comment on graduation, Paul Christie. She got them both marked.
Good evening, board. Graduation, I have a senior that's graduating this year. And I don't know what the decisions are on graduation. I have started making his invitations. And I know there's been a date floating, but there's no set date. That's fine. I'm waiting to get a date. Also, I don't know where you plan on having it, how you plan on doing it for these seniors this year, but in my heart, these students have done the best they could this whole year. Virtually and hybrid A and B, they've done all they can do. COVID restrictions, understand that. Vaccinations, I get that. I feel that you spent all this money for this brand new school with this new stadium and this new football field. Our kids should not be denied to use it. We can follow the CDC guidelines. We can follow the 6 feet. We're not 6 feet right now. So we can keep the mask on. I'm upset that there may be a limit to how many family members can come and attend our child's special achievement when there really shouldn't be a number. If we have a field now that has 2 sets of, bleachers, where we're separated, I feel there's enough separation to follow the CDC guidelines. Figure out a way to make it so we don't tear up the turf. Make the kids wear flats so they don't wear heels to tear up the turf. On top of that, you had football games. I don't know what the difference is in cleats and heels, not exactly sure. But nonetheless, the kids deserve something as a whole. They haven't been whole in 2 years. They've had to suffer like we've had to suffer and make do with what we've been given. We didn't ask for COVID. It's just part of, nature and life right now. So we figured out a way for our kids to learn. Then we need to figure out a way for our kids to be together at least one more time. I don't know about prom. I didn't put prom down. I didn't put prom down because my son's not going. But they need to be together. They miss their friends. I understand they can chit-chat, and they can Snapchat, they can Facebook, but it's not the same. I graduated in '97. I graduated from the old high school. We had a graduation. Our kids have earned this graduation. Now, as far as that, I think I'm done because there's enough seniors here that have their own opinions about their graduation. Now, Mr. Paul Christie, he's been excellent through the COVID pandemic. He's been excellent. My phone has rang, if not once a week, twice a week. If not twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. My phone rang. That man kept us up to date with when the buses was gonna come by and deliver food, when they wasn't gonna deliver food, where we could pick the food up for our kids to still eat, when we're gonna do hybrid A or something. If the numbers went up, he'll call the next day. We're gonna go virtual. If the numbers go down, we're going back to hybrid B. If your kid comes this day, is when this, he was very informative. I've always lived in Clark County, so I don't know what any other counties experienced, but to renew his contract, I agree with it. Because in my eyes, he's been the best superintendent thus far. I don't know. I don't know. Mr. Christie, I hope that they keep you. I hope that whatever our parents, students have to say about this man does something to where the board decides to keep it. He's done excellent. And I don't know what nobody else feels, but I feel like he's done excellent. In my eyes, he's done excellent. So please think about our kids when it comes to this graduation as a whole. You've done enough out there at that new GRC. I heard the stadium or gymnasium was awesome. I haven't seen it myself, but I heard it was awesome. You know, if it rains, we can go inside. But I want our kids to graduate as one.
Thank you. Mr. James Harrison, item number 15.
How are y'all this evening? My name's James Harrison. I'm one of your SROs. I currently work at Shears School. I'm here in support of Superintendent Christie. I've got a few notes here. I'm not a good public speaker, so forgive me. Superintendent Christie's leadership and guidance. We have some of the safest schools in Kentucky. And I can give you an example. When the Safe School Act was passed, we all know about the Safe, we were already doing a lot of that. There wasn't a lot of adjustments we had to make. We're one of the few districts in the state that has an officer in every school, which the Safe Schools Act requires, but we were ahead of that. We're the only district in the state, and Ms. Ritchie was at one of our trainings, to conduct active shooter training with the staffs in each school. We actually fired weapons with blanks within the school to give the teachers a frame of reference of what a gunshot sounds like in the school. We actually incorporated the Winchester Police later on. Excuse me. They responded to the scenarios we had, so their officers got training within our schools on how to respond. And it's all because of this one. We have intentions of doing it again soon because of the turnover rate of teachers. He supports training for us. Officer Vaught and I went not too long ago to active threat training by the Department of Homeland Security. Great training. He always supports that. And since I've been here 6 years, our equipment is top notch. We have everything we need to deal with threats, with any situation. I won't go into what we have, but we have it. And we know how to use it. And it's all because of this man. Mr. Donald Stump has a big hand in this, and the previous boards have had a hand in this. But it's through his leadership and guidance that we are where we're at today. The thermal cameras, once we don't need the COVID thing anymore, they can be used for a lot of things. They can actually detect a weapon. Okay? I could go on and on and on. The man deserves another year. This past year, we're even talking about letting students have a do-over. He's done nothing wrong. He deserves another year. He deserves to go out on his own terms. That's my opinion. And as a parent, I'd also like to say, with his leadership and the previous boards, my high school senior plays softball. I don't know if any of you have been to a softball game, baseball game. It is amazing to hear people from other communities comment on those facilities. It's a gem of Winchester. Now, it was a collective effort, but he had a part in it. I just don't see how you cannot give him another year. I love working for him. We've done well, and we will continue to do well, and we will continue to improve on school safety. So I'll end it with that, and thank you for your time.
Brian Foudray, item number 14 and 15.
everyone. I'm Brian Foudre. I'm a teacher at GRC, and I'm also the local district Teachers Association president. I spoke to the board a couple of times over the past year about the district's response to the pandemic, and I'm here tonight to offer my thoughts on the overall process. I was on a district level COVID task force last summer with other staff members. As a teacher representative, I sought input from staff from across the district on multiple occasions in order to assess the pandemic and what we collectively thought would be a safe plan to get kids back in school and what reopening schools would look like. The second time I reached out to teachers was around July of last year. As you'll recall, this was a period when cases were rising across the state, and the district, the board were trying to get together and figure out what was the best way to get the kids back in the building. At that time, I had 84 different Clark County staff members respond to my request to just hear what they thought about plans for reopening. The concerns of the staff at that time were obvious to me. A clear majority, 75%, either supported starting the year online, virtual learning, or in some form of hybrid plan. At that time, the local board, the Teachers Association, recommended to the district that we not open schools to 5-day in-person classes, or if we did open, do so on a hybrid plan and strictly follow health and safety guidelines. The majority of teachers that I spoke with supported the district pushing back the start date until later than other districts in the region. Later, as the sales rate, or as the rates continued to increase and the district remained virtual until November, a majority of the teachers also supported that decision. As we were coming back and preparing to come back for hybrid, nervously, most people, some students, and at the time we were thinking about, a little less than half the students would be in the building at a time. I polled the staff again, because these were different circumstances than what we saw in July. This time I got 211 responses. I asked the staff if they felt comfortable holding in-person classes. With the incidence rate going up, 86% said no. I asked them if they felt comfortable with the amount of people that were in quarantine or had tested positive in their buildings. 78% said no to that. And again, after attempting to reopen in a hybrid model and seeing the virus spread among staff and students, the district made a call to go virtual. And at the time, the teachers, the board association, the teacher association I represent, all supported that decision. In January, when the rates climbed higher than ever due to the holidays and the subsequent spread, and the district opted to remain virtual, again, we supported that. We like that idea. We like the idea that the district took of having the teachers get vaccinated before we would open up to full in-person classes again. So looking back over the past year, obviously there's a lot of uncertainty. There are a lot of legitimate health concerns, and also there was a lot of sickness and death. If the district hadn't taken the stance it did, prioritizing health and safety of students, their families, staff, and the community, there very likely would have been more sickness and death in the community. That's not to say everything worked perfectly or even great. There have also been legitimate concerns from parents about the education of their kids during the pandemic, which includes the impact on students' mental health, failing grades, and the impact of child care and those demands on families. Now that we have the vaccine and the incidence rate has shrunk dramatically, we're able to begin addressing those issues. But health and safety always had to come first. And every time I came here, I always tried to stress that as a teacher representative, that was the thing that I heard, and I wanted to make sure the board heard that. The hundreds of staff members I've talked with in the past year appreciate the district's decisions to prioritize health and safety. I hope this never happens, obviously, but should something like that ever happen again, we hope for leadership that would make the same call.
Thank you.
Jennifer Rose, graduation prom.
Hello, board members. I'm not good at public speaking. I've probably not spoke publicly since high school, but I'm here tonight because I have a senior. I agree with everything that she has said. These children deserve this graduation. They deserve to be united
from last time. My daughter's always been a straight A, straight B, or A, B student. This year it's been a little bit harder on her. You know, with the virtual stuff, she's kept up her grades. I'm very super proud of her. And as, you know, seeing her grow up, I think it means more to me, probably, than it does her. Because at this point, she's almost given up. She's done with high school, she wants to be out of it. She's struggled this year, mentally, socially, you know, like she said, you've got the Instagram, you've got the TikTok, you got whatever. It's not the same. It's not the same. They deserve it. They deserve this, and you know, it's the same with prom. Here it is, it's what, the Saturday? And for my family, I'm sorry, I'm gonna get emotional. Allison lost her grandmother about 12 years ago. And before my mom passed, one thing she told me, she's like, I'll never get to see her graduate because she had cancer. She said, I'll never get to see her graduation. And she's not going to. But I have family that does want to see it. She has other grandparents that deserve to be there. There's no excuse with all the money that they put into this field that we can't have family to be able to come see their grandchildren, their nieces, nephews, whatever, to graduate. If we can't do it at the new field, if they're worried about the turf getting ruined, why don't we go to the old high school? Why can't we do it somewhere? I can guarantee you that every senior would be willing to walk up on that field barefoot and sit in the mud, dirt, pouring rain, snow, hail, whatever, to all be together.
Amen.
This one last time. I apologize. Another issue. Last year, there's been no support at all. The communication and the support for these seniors this year has sucked. I'm just going to put it out there. Last year, they had the graduation, the project graduation, where they had raffles for the kids, and they tried to make us feel special. They gathered all this money up. This year, if it wasn't for the senior parents groups doing that, these kids wouldn't get jack squat. I met a friend at Walmart the other day. She's a senior parent as well, and you know, we've got the funds set up through the Kentucky Bank. There's other fundraisers at the car wash, whatever, to try to show these kids that we're proud of them. And if it wasn't for these parents doing this, I mean, think of how crappy that makes these students feel. That they've put in 12 plus years to get a good education, and this is what it comes down to. It's like they're not cared about. They do want to give up. How many graduated early because they could, because they wanted to be done? And I understand, you know, with COVID, it's been a crazy year, and that's beyond our control. But there was so much more that could be done for our students that was not done. My daughter's been in the Rotary Club. I get remind messages 6, 7, 8 times a day. But nothing about anything else that's going on. My child got a warning sticker on her car the other day, and I heard that the majority of the students did. Why are you going to make these children pay $10 to park in that parking lot for 2 months of school? What's left? Where's that money going to go? It's not going toward them. If it's going to the luncheon that's going to supposedly happen at the end of the year, I mean, I'm sure they're going to have enough money from that. I'm sure they've got money left over. And I've been told that other money has been collected, and I don't know where that's going, because it's not going to them. So the least that you all can do is please give these kids this graduation together. The prom. When we had the homecoming or whatever it was last year, these children signed waivers. Let them sign a waiver. Let it be their choice if they want to go. If they don't feel safe and don't want to go, that's fine. Give them the choice, though. They're not getting a choice. Their voices are not being heard. They've not been asked, how do you want to do this? What's your opinion? How can we do this? They're not given a choice. Their voice is not being heard at all. They've not been supported. I'm beyond disappointed in the school system this year. I've lived here, went here all my life, and I would honestly consider my child, have another child that's 13, and I don't know if I want him going to the high school here after what has happened this year with my child and the no support that she has been shown and the others. That's all.
Thank you. Jessica Durfee, graduation prom.
Hey there, how are you guys doing tonight? I just want to speak to what, I don't know what your name was.
Jennifer.
But everything she said is exactly how I feel. I have a son that's graduating this year. His name is Zach. He has been a straight A kid, truly a 4.25 GPA. But this year he has struggled. And I think because he's not been in class, and just like the other parents were saying, there's just not been the support. I also have to agree with the lack of communication to us parents. And had it not been for a certain Facebook page for our seniors, our senior parents, we wouldn't know anything that's going on. I agree with what she was talking about, the parking ticket. My son come home with a ticket on his windshield that said if he didn't pay this ticket, they were gonna have his car towed. How dare they do that? He's not been in school all year long. Where's the money going? So I agree with what she's saying. And another thing that my son brought to my attention was just last week, they had a pep rally in the gym. And a lot of the students weren't social distance. They didn't have a mask on. Yet all 4 classes, freshman through high, or through senior, were in the gym together in this pep rally. So if we can do that and we can pump up these kids in this type of a pep rally, why can't they have a graduation together? You know, there's just so many, or a prom even. And someone said that they're gonna do it in the freshman gym. What about the brand new gym that we just built? And why can't we put a tarp down? I own a business here in town, and every year that I can, I do a bed giveaway at the elementary schools. And every year, the high school has offered us a tarp to put down on the floor so we don't scuff the floor. So if that's our concern, why can't we do that? You know, another parent had mentioned about the different fundraisers that us parents in the community was trying to help raise money for. I personally gave $500 to that. But I feel like where's this money going? What are you guys doing for our students, our seniors this year? And I'm just very disappointed. She also alluded to last year, a lot of the kids were being adopted from the community, our seniors were. Again, I personally adopted 10 students last year. My son has not, or he was adopted once. It's not that he needs it, it's just the principle of it. And our mindset was different last year because it was a new thing. Well, just because COVID has gotten old, why isn't our seniors, why aren't our seniors being heard and seen and appreciated for what they're doing? I mean, they accomplished just as much. I just feel like our seniors aren't getting the recognition that they deserve. I would love for us, we've had all year long to prepare for graduation. Why don't we have a solution? If plan A doesn't work, what about plan B? Plan B doesn't work, what about plan C? It's like we've come to the very end of the school year, but we don't know what we're supposed to be doing. And I agree with what she said about Mr. Christie. I know I didn't mention this, but I believe he's a good man. And I believe that he has the good of this community in the school at heart. And so I don't know what the outcome will be tonight, but what I do believe is that he is a good man. And I believe that he has done everything that he can under the circumstances to keep our kids safe. Now, as a mom, there are some things that I wish were done differently, but at the end of the day, he has a lot on his shoulders. And so I just appreciate you. I really do. I appreciate what you've done. But that's all I have to say. And the kids, I really am thankful that they're here tonight so that they can actually speak for their class as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Alyssa Bowling, graduation. Sorry. I lost my list over here.
Good evening. I'm like the other moms, I'm feeling the same way. We've had a lot of lack of communication this year. On November 6th, there was a group of us moms that met with Mr. Christie, And he reassured us that he was gonna send out a letter to the community and let them know that we're all working together with our seniors. We're gonna do something the first of the year for these kids. We'll have some sort of dance along with prom. This has never happened. We've not had any more communication. We've not had any emails, any texts. Nothing's been answered. So here we are now at graduation and nobody knows anything. You know, we've heard maybe it might be in 2 sessions. If so, what does that look like? Has this been thought through? You know, I mean, what about the traffic? If we have a 6 o'clock and an 8 o'clock graduation, what's that gonna look like? We've had all year to consider getting the cover for the football field, if that was an issue. Why has that not happened? I mean, are these seniors not that important that we should have thought all this through ahead of time, and here we are. Nobody knows anything. What's the option of using RDC? I mean, why can't we, these kids all want to be together, and I think they deserve that, just one last time. And then I've also heard that we might have luncheon for these kids later on. When is that gonna be discussed, and what's that gonna look like? Supposedly, there have been letters going out that there is a project graduation, but we're not having a project graduation. So the money that was collected on that, will that be for sure used on our kids? What will these seniors be given? What are you all gonna do for them? And then back to graduation, how many tickets are gonna be available? I mean, how many people are they gonna be allowed to have? There's just so much unknown out there, and none of us know anything. And I just feel like we and the seniors all deserve to have some answers. So that's all I have to say. Thank you all.
Thank you. Erica Berry, graduation.
Hello, I'm a senior this year at GRC, and there are a few more students that wish they could be here and they cannot. But the ones that are here, I know we all feel the same way. When you go into high school, all you think about is your graduation day. All you think about is your senior year. We didn't get any of it. We thought about it. We thought we dreamed what those days would look like. We've gotten none of it. We didn't get to be with our class at all this year. We didn't get to have homecoming. We didn't get to have soiree. We didn't get to have a lot of stuff that our past groups have gotten. But we all thought we could get a graduation together. And now to be told it's going to be split in 2 groups and you have to go with people, your last name alphabetically. I mean, personally, I don't think it's right, and I don't think any of these other students sitting here do. We've all dreamed for graduation day and for it to be basically taken from us with our class. I don't think it's a fair choice. I think that there should be some way that you all can figure out as a board, as the school, as everybody put together, that we can graduate together as a class. There's no way that shouldn't be available. I mean, we have a field. If you are so concerned about the turf, there's got to be something we can do about it. Make the girls wear flats. I can assure you every girl would be fine with that. I mean, I have students, my friends, that have come to me saying they don't even want to participate in graduation because they can't be with their classmates. They can't be together as a whole. And honestly, I think that that should break your all's heart to hear that your students that have gone here for 12, 14 years, if they've gone to preschool, feel that way about their senior year. And I'm going to be completely honest, I thought about graduating early because I was so fed up with this year. But the only reason I didn't is because I play a sport, and that sport means the world to me. If it wasn't for that, I would have graduated early and I would not still be here. Another thing, I don't understand, I understand COVID, you all want us to be as safe as possible, and I appreciate that, and I'm sure all of my classmates do as well. But if you're so concerned about that, everybody's going to be wearing masks. We are going to have to wear masks to graduation. We'll have masks on at prom. So why can't we still sit together as a class? We have so much room. We spent so much money on these new facilities that we're not even using. And the big seller was that they were going to be used for our community. And that's why we're getting them. But now it's like we cannot use them. And I know I don't understand that, and neither do these parents, and that's why they're here talking for us today. Last thing I have to say is you all got to experience graduation. You all got to talk to your classmates for the last time. Now do you all still talk to all those classmates to this day, or was that the last time you got to be with all of them? So thank you.
Madison Rose, graduation. Did I say that?
Yes.
Okay.
I am also a student, senior at GRC, and I agree, I don't feel like I've been supported this year at all. I've also talked to many people that have graduated early. I would consider graduating early if it wasn't for my medical classes, because I didn't know there were scholarship opportunities until the day before they were due, and I found out from my math teacher, who found out from Facebook. I didn't know about prom, or the senior pictures, cap and gown pictures, until the day before they happened, and I found out from a classmate that also found out from Facebook. I haven't been told anything, like I feel like nothing has been done to support me. I understand that we couldn't have like the homecoming and the soiree because of COVID restrictions, but like I feel like there could have been more done with just having us all together. And coming up, the prom having in 2 sessions, we had a pep rally where every student from every grade was packed into the gym, like all together in one side. And there was students playing games where they were climbing on top of each other, no masks. So I don't understand how that can happen, but I cannot graduate with my friends who I've been looking forward to graduating with for 12 years, like all together. I don't want to have to pick and choose who I graduate with when I've been looking forward and working hard for this for as long as I've been in school. It's just very unfair to me, it's unfair to my classmates, and I feel like we put in all this effort and we're getting nothing back. And like they said about the parents last year, the parents are doing everything for us this year. The school last year, they collected money, they made goodie baskets for us, they kept us updated. This year, it's been all Facebook. If it was not for the parents, I would not have known anything about what's happening with the school. We would have gotten nothing. If it wasn't for the parents collecting money, I don't think we would have gotten anything to show their appreciation for us. Thank you.
Mike Rogers, superintendent contract.
Hello, everybody. I come here tonight and I just want to try to give you all my recommendation for the extension of Mr. Christie's contract. I've known Paul for over 25 years, and when he served in other capacities, and he's been at Clark County a long time, probably one of the longest tenured superintendents we've ever had. And I've been here in Winchester my whole life, and that man over there, he stood up for our kids and was the key part of getting their facilities up to date. And I think the proof is in the pudding now. I mean, there's no doubt that no one has what we have. That includes the school. The schools, all of our facilities. It just fills my heart that as a 61-year-old Clark Countyan, that our kids have these opportunities now that most of us never had. And I think that's a great, great accomplishment. And there's a whole lot of people to thank for that. There's previous board members, previous facility committees, administration, all these people. I don't want to lessen the impact that they had on our facilities as well. I saw a thing in the paper last week where we had a very significant savings in energy. And I'm sure everyone is aware of that. And I know that when Mr. Christie and my uncle were flying all over the United States trying to come up with plans to build a new high school, that was something that they were very concerned about, being more efficient. And then when he was behind the leadership to consolidate all the schools, and like I said, there's a whole lot of people that played a very vital part in that. And we are seeing the fruits of his leadership, in my opinion. And I haven't always agreed with everything he's done, but I also respect his decisions the same way I respect your all's decisions tonight in whatever you choose to do. I've known most of you my whole life here, and this is not going to, whether he gets an extension or not, it's not going to impact the way I feel about anyone personally. I just want to come before you and give you my recommendation. And I'm proud to be a Clark County, and I appreciate all that you guys do for us, and especially Mr. Christie and all he's done for our kids. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Sandra Christie. I'm assuming she's speaking about item number 15.
Probably in the, I was in the other room, I know. I see it here.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Sandra Christie. Ashley, Bill, Brenda, Sherry, I know you. Megan, I haven't met you, but it will come. Why am I here speaking on Paul's behalf? Not because it would make my life a lot easier because he's employed here, because it's hard. Oh, but I have watched every board meeting. I have not been to one board meeting in person for 8 years. Prior to this past year, I was in education for 30 years, and personally, I knew that once he stepped in that job, that our home, our life would be forever changed. I can tell you he is devoted to every student, every parent, and everyone in this district. Making my home not a priority, but you know what? I'm okay with that because I am an educator. I know what it's like and what it takes for him to do his job. But you know what? I live it, we wake up with it, and we go to sleep with it. Now I will tell you, he has bragging rights, and I said it, along with every employee in this district. You got it, huge bragging rights. During a pandemic, you are looking at a district that is to be admired. Bus drivers, cooks, technology, curriculum, and oh, the custodians. And wow, what a job these teachers have done, and these teachers' aides. We owe them our gratitude. Sure, I watch the board meetings. I know the issues. I know the issues of ensuring social and emotional health. I was a counselor for 22 years. Paul made some very, very hard decisions, but students and employees were his first in every decision. When it hits home, like it has ours, my niece, brother-in-law, laying in the hospital on a ventilator, 55-year-old, younger than me, no health conditions. Last night, 95% chance living. I live it. When you are faced with that, you will look at him and say, good call, Paul, because life is more important. I'm appalled at what I know. Are you going to make a decision on valid evidence? Personal agenda? How much time have you walked Clark County schools in the last year? If not, what evidence are you using? 2 of you, you've had 4 in person, 4 virtual. The 3 of you, I don't know, selective phone calls, I don't know. The others, what? Bill, most people in this whole county does not even know who their board member is. I think you're mine. I think, we've discussed this. And, you know, probably after tonight, I need to be starting to make some calls to you. Because I actually have a heart for educators. I was there. The lives of our student employees come first. Paul has been there. I hope that when you evaluate him in public, that you look at him in the eye and every employee and say,
Yes, I am 100% correct. Because if not, you live with it. You remember the April 12th board meeting with Dr. Swan? And she said, what about the wheel? You know, think about it. Are we reinventing the wheel? Because what has this man done? I've lived it every day, every day. While I'm here, there's one more thing I have to discuss with you. I probably won't be back for 8 years because I watch it online. And this is this preschool. I must be the most in tuned or the very good listener because I can tell you the possible designs of it, the population, and actually back in July of 2020, the board, facility boards met and they even talked about population pre-pandemic as being 341, and you're looking at a preschool 350. Look at 450. Why not? But you know what? My information doesn't come from Hina. You know what it is? I am watching. I am listening. And you as such a valuable, vulnerable age group. I mean, why not give them the state-of-the-art, the state-of-the-art learning facility? 2 of you on the final vote said no. Brenda, you've been here less than a year ago, or a year and a half ago. You sit through the board meetings. You lot of people should have the information. The rest of you, I don't know. Attending board meetings, I must just be a very good listener. Do you know the value of the education at that age? I was fortunate enough in my education to spend it with preschool through 6. I watched those kids daily. I watched it go from here to K. Don't just go there and visit. Hang out. Watch it. Watch it over an extended period of time. Don't just drop in. And also, I'm going to a side note here. I have a daughter, as most of you all know. She's in MSU, graduated thing, don't know. She's on MSU online classes. Also, we have sorority online. But as much as you know, we are educating online. And part of her education online is sitting there on my couch, which also includes me. I have been very educated in the criminal justice system, which, you know, this problem is not just in Clark County. She's online, ready to go into a career that I'm not so sure she's ready. But I also think, well, I want her in her sorority, so I'm about ready to call up the president of MSU and say, you know what, can you think you can bring her back into class, or can you bring her back into her sorority? And I wonder what he would say to me. We're in a pandemic. Did you know the highest indication of keeping a child out of the system in the judicial system is to look and have a good start in education? And a good start is not ABCs reading. It's speaking, motor skills, sensory, working together. That's your preschool, not a high GPA. So 9 million that we all said was such a large amount. When you think about the valuable lives we foster in learning and out of the legal system, the legal system knows this. Why don't you? You are elected and you are paid to sit in that seat. On an average, you are making $75 an hour. I went back and did my homework. Or 3 weeks ago, you made $150 for 8 minutes. Let that sink in. Kentucky School Board states that one of your duties is coming to the meeting adequately prepared. Adequately, I looked up, to a satisfactory or acceptable extent, good enough. Good enough for Clark County people. Good enough, we've got it. What about you? Why are you stopping the wheel? Stopping the wheel is a failure on your part. I educate myself. Archived videos are on YouTube. Clark County Board meeting, dating back to 2012. July the 2nd, 2020. October 12, 2020. Facilities planning presented to the board on Phoenix and the preschool. What the committee wanted, what the board wanted, and what they voted on. And Donald, if you ever need not to be here, I can do it for you because I've educated myself. Step up,
educate yourself, not knowing, needing more information, more time, are all excuses. I thank you for your time. Paul, you know, he can come home. I'm retired, 30 years. I will enjoy it. Thank you.
She said it.
Well, not last.
She said it.
That's me.
Golly.
Okay, well, to follow that up, I have 2 emails to read that have asked to be put into tonight's minutes. First one is from Miss Christina Heisel. Says, Miss Ritchie, I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting due to medical reasons. I would like to have the following read by you and put into the minutes. Thanks so much, Christina Heisel. It has recently came to my attention that some of our county board members are trying to vote out our current superintendent out of office. First and foremost, let me say this would be the worst mistake if it were to happen. Paul Christie has a huge heart and genuinely cares about all students regardless of race, religion, and monetary status. He sincerely wants the best education possible for all students and not just a select few. Both of my children attended GRC and there's no one I'd rather have in office than Paul. Anytime I've had a concern, he was right there to help me without hesitation, even before he became superintendent for that matter. So for anyone wanting to say he doesn't care about every single student, I will call you a liar to your face. This man gets up during bad weather, long before school begins, in his own vehicle, drives our roads to make certain it's safe for our kids, as well as the bus drivers transporting them. As everyone knows, we have been in the middle of a pandemic for quite some time now. This man has spent countless hours making sure our kids are safe, keeping them at home as much as possible, and then making sure the school is sanitized now that the school is somewhat back in session. However, you still have the option for virtual learning at home. Then you see some of you people complaining about school not being mandatory full-time, and I just don't get it. Would you want a superintendent that didn't care about your children's education, or what could happen to them during this craziness? I personally would much rather have someone that genuinely cares about my child's health and safety rather than the money they would be obtaining from the state for my child being in that building. He would never put our children at risk for any reason. We are in the middle of a huge pandemic, and yet he has done everything possible to keep our children safe. Yet they are still getting well educated. Things are far from normal right now for everyone, but he has done everything in the power to keep them as normal as possible. He is doing a great job. Clark County is the model that KDE wants to show other districts, yet you have someone wanting to get rid of the very man leading the success. Seriously, that's so degrading to Paul. To try and ruin his character and reputation says more about you than it ever will him. This type of treatment of an innocent person for someone's own gratification is disgusting. It's pathetic, really. I think if someone wants to vote someone out of office, they should have proof of a valid reason, which they don't. Not because they hold a grudge and are butthurt. Seriously, grow up. I seriously worry for Clark County if, in fact, they succeed with their vendetta. It scares me that just a select few can control the whole school system when it isn't in the best interest for our students. In my opinion, Paul is the best superintendent that Clark County has ever had in office. His focus is the children and that they all get the best education possible. It should be his choice to leave when he is ready. You know, I thought our Board of Education was against bullying, but it seems the board itself is made up of a few bullies. It absolutely makes me sick. I will stand up for what is right, even if I'm standing alone. I have a voice and I'm not afraid to use it. Team Paul. Okay, and then this one says, Ms. Ritchie, I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting. I would like for you to read the following and have it put into the minutes. Sincerely, Tyra Spears. When I heard of someone trying to vote Mr. Christie out of office, I was shocked. However, when I found out the reason, I was simply disgusted. Why would someone want to vote out the very man that is responsible for so much success within our schools? A man that cares about the entire student body and not just a select few. I was a student when Mr. Christie won his seat as superintendent, and to say I was excited is an understatement. He was the change that this community needed. It was so relieving to finally have someone in office that genuinely cared about all of us students and not just the ones that played sports or had money. It was nice to know that even as lower class kids, so to speak, mattered to someone. He is so devoted and driven to make sure that all students have the best education possible. I know I sure did, and for that I owe him a huge thank you. In school, we were always taught to never be a bully, and when I see some of our school board members doing just that, it makes me wonder if they are worthy of their seat. Aren't you supposed to be the one to set the example for the students? Trying to tarnish his reputation because you are holding a grudge to say more about yourself than it says more about yourself than it ever will, Mr. Christie. If they will do this to Mr. Christie, ask yourself, who else will they do this to? It's this very behavior that expect their students not to display, and they're doing it themselves. If these people succeed with their vendetta, I worry for Clark County and our students. Without Mr. Christie, our school system is going to completely fall apart. You won't find anyone else more caring and honest, I promise you that, so think wisely before you vote. Don't follow the bullies and make a mistake that you can't undo. Remember, it's all about the children, not a few childish adults. And that's it. And that is the end of public comments. So with that being said, we are on item number 4. Update from the high school on plans for prom and graduation.
Just prom.
Huh?
Just prom. I remember the time.
Oh, just prom, okay, just prom, David.
We can discuss that.
Okay.
Well, as you know, I guess prom is Saturday night. We have divided it into 2 sessions. I think today tickets were on sale. I think there was about 200 tickets that were sold today, or roughly for 200 students. 2 sessions, 7 to 8:45 and 9:15 until 11. Prom is going to be in the auxiliary gym, courtyard, and in the cafeteria areas. So that's kind of how we divided that up to maximize space. I think we submitted a plan, I think back in March, and it was approved by the health department 2 weeks ago or something like that. They approved the plan. I know that's not exactly what the students wanted, but that was the best opportunity we could have to ensure that something took place as far as prom goes.
So has the health department told you that you need to separate like that? Was that her recommendation?
From my understanding, Mr. Christie gave her the plan and submitted the plan to the health department, and they're the ones that said they approved it.
So was there any thought of putting it into the main gym with, no, we have a cover for the gym.
Well, I don't think you're gonna get that much more square footage on the floor, really, than what you have in the auxiliary gym. And we're using the outside and cafeteria. We're using 3 different areas instead of just one. We could have done in the performance gym, but I don't know if we had that much more room.
Well, you've got all the auxiliary areas within the gym, maybe not the gym itself, obviously the auxiliary gym, same size as the gym and the main gym, but as far as square footage on the upper or bottom, maybe possibly spread out within the main gym and have one ceremony or have one prop. I mean, was there any thought of that?
No, because we were trying to deal with restrictions. I mean, obviously, and I understand everybody's frustration. Believe me, I am the one frustrated because I'm the one that has to put it on their shoulders to bear this. But we're always going at targets that are changing. We've had these conversations here. You guys have had as board members throughout COVID, trying to figure out percentages. And yes, we looked at that for a while, but I think when we looked at it, we felt like we could spread kids out more by utilizing the cafeteria, auxiliary gym. That's kind of the plan we went with. Everything's laid out for that.
And the reason I made the motion before we started to separate prom and graduation, and Mr. Thomas, please correct me if I'm wrong, prom kind of falls solely under site-based council in school. Is that correct? The graduation, the board may have.
More so than graduation.
More so than graduation. did we, when y'all was considering the plans, was there a section of the student body part of those plans?
Not really, no. I mean, I talked to some kids through smoke signals. It's like here tonight, we have to make decisions. I'm paid to run a school, to make decisions. I'm trying to provide a prom for the kids, trying to provide them some opportunities. So, we made the best possible decision we could on the prom. A lot of districts aren't even having a prom. I know Madison County is not. But I felt like the kids deserved something, because yes, last year's kids had all the way up until mid-March. This group of kids lost from mid-March until now. So yes, they missed pretty much most everything. They're the ones I think that most of us feel more sorry for.
I mean, would there be any consideration to change your plans at this point?
Not at this point, no. We're too far into the prom.
Push prom back. Because if you're still working, I'm sorry, if you're still working on a graduation date and that's not set in stone yet, I heard one date was June the 2nd for graduation. Push prom up. See, I don't know.
Graduation date is set.
It's set,
It's
it's
set.
May,
It's set.
The 28th.
the 28th, it's set.
I mean, I'm not sure what we can do as a board, if anything,
On prom, no.
on prom.
Can we move into 4A then?
Yeah.
That's
We're
what-
done?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a senior here had a question, or I'm not sure, is she allowed to ask, or?
Which,
Right here, Miss Berry.
go ahead.
Mr. Vaughn, I'm not saying we all don't appreciate everything you've tried to do for us. We appreciate you trying to give us a prom and a graduation, but I also, why couldn't we reconsider? We haven't started setting up for prom, we haven't done anything, and I personally know that because I'm on prom committee. I know we haven't started setting up for prom, that doesn't start until later in this week. And I don't understand why we couldn't reconsider that if you all didn't even think of it to begin with.
I have a question as well.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No.
Well, then I'll do the question. So if you have the prom decorations and you said we can't use that new gym that we have, what's the problem with moving it from where we're having it if it's not set up to there now? Like, I know it's already planned, but if you don't have the decorations set up, what's the difference? Like, that's just like an actual question.
Because the plan that we're operating on utilizes 3 areas to where we can spread you guys out as much as we can. All right, I'm not gonna be able to spread you out anymore in the performance gym than I am gonna be utilizing the courtyard, cafeteria, and auxiliary gym.
If you're spreading us out so much, why is it split into 2 sections?
That's why.
And you have to remember that this had to be approved from the health department, which has been Mr. Christie's concern all along. So it's not totally our decision. She has to weigh in. And I think it's great you all had a pep rally.
How did that get about?
Well, but I think, be glad that you had it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think be glad that we're getting to have prom.
Did that
Because,
get by the health department?
yeah, because we just got approval last Friday.
For all 1,000 students in one part of the gym instead of having
No,
one?
it's
Not
in
the
3
pep rally.
sections, it's in 3 different rooms, correct? You're,
No, she's talking about the pep rally.
oh, no, I don't know anything about
Okay,
it.
that's my thing, if we have so many amount of students in the cafeteria or in the gym for the pep rally, they're close together and they don't have their mask on because they said that they didn't have their mask on, what's the difference? Like,
No,
if
I
you don't
get
get
it.
approved
That's
for the pep
thousands of
rally,
students than
why do
one.
you get approved for the prom?
Yeah.
Because there's less seniors than there are in the entire school. There's 367 seniors in total. That's way less than what there was at the pep rally.
And I do know that you do have violations
or restrictions, but how did you get by with that?
Sometimes you,
What was the pep rally for?
Tournament.
For what tournament?
promise had been made to the students, to do one earlier when we had the state wrestling tournament. And due to setup, we had to fit with them. I'm trying to fulfill a promise.
How many people signed up for head walk ticket? I know it's just first day. How many people at prom? How many students do you expect at prom?
You said 200. Didn't you say 200?
There were
Before
200
this
tickets,
day.
80 couple tickets were sold, and I think 30 single tickets were sold today.
Do you know
So
how
we're
many
planning for
seniors?
600, 3 and 3,
You planning for 300?
600.
600?
Between the two.
I mean, I know we, as a board, we don't have any say so on this, but I would urge you to reconsider that, to open it up and put it in the main gym and spread them out. Spread them out. There's more room in that big gym than there is auxiliary. They didn't both up. I mean, there's more room up from top to bottom.
We were allowed 1,000 people in the gym when we played basketball for our district tournament and region tournaments. Each team got 500 tickets. And you gotta think, they're not allowed to sit on the floor. They're in the bleachers.
And these are people that we've seen every day of our lives.
So we wanna have these last times
Not
with.
just random people coming into our facilities.
But I would say, as a board, I don't think we have an option for the prom.
We really
could
don't
ask for
make that decision.
reconsideration.
No, it's fine.
So, let's go to 4A if that's anybody, is that okay?
Yeah,
Perfect.
for,
Okay. The reason I requested that, it's come to my attention that, we were treating graduation like we were prom. And I had a senior last year. And, you know, he got most of his year in. But the one thing he said that he wished he had over everything was a graduation with everybody that he went to school with. He would have traded I mean, he didn't, you know, they didn't have prom last year. The graduation that we tried to put together last year was, under the circumstance, it went as good as it could have went. There was a lot more, concern, we didn't know what we know now, COVID. But moving this to the football field on the outside and allowing everyone to graduate, putting plywood down, 3/4 inch plywood, we'll let them all graduate together. That's, I think that we owe it to the senior class, and this 80% of the school year, if not more.
why do we need plywood?
I think I talked to Mr.
Have we
Christie.
bought the mat? Because I know we've talked about this for over a year.
And it's steel there.
Yep.
We own the mats for the gym to cover the gym floor.
For the football field.
We
Is that what
already
you're
own that,
asking?
so the gym is covered.
No.
We do not have anything, remember we talked about this last year, it was gonna be somewhere, I can't remember, $60,000 to $80,000 to put mats down to protect the field, but now, in the research we've done, we have researched that if the graduation was outside and a stage was put up, we checked today, the stage has 60 legs underneath of it, and you have to have two layers of 3/4 inch plywood that's 4 foot by 4 foot. Underneath each of the legs, you have 2 layers, so it's 1.5 inch thick wood, 4 by 4, under each, 4 foot by 4 foot, under each of the 60 legs. It would take about 100 sheets of plywood, that would make a place to set the stage. It could set on the turf and would not affect your warranties on the turf, would not affect the turf. The plywood, the additional sheets of plywood, other than looking pretty, probably not look real good, but maybe we could cover it with something. If you were to do an outside thing, I'm just throwing this out for your options, if you were, figuring that 100 sheets of plywood, figure plywood, so the girls wouldn't have to wear flats, they could wear heels. And they wouldn't have to wear flats.
Have you considered to just, I mean, I think if it came down to it, if the seniors could get a graduation, do we have to have a stage? You know what I mean? Like, if you told me
Well,
a stage or not a stage?
I agree with a lot said. I understand where Mr. Bowe is coming from. And I understand that he's put in a spot that he's in, and I'm kind of there too because of COVID restrictions. I don't have some control with some of it. But at the same time, understand the things that they're saying there. And I think if we're gonna do this, whatever we do, we want to do it to the best that we can do, to make it as nice as you can make it. It wasn't what we wanted to do last year, but if you go back and you look at the videos that were produced, they were next to none in the state that anybody else produced. I think they were as good as anybody ever did, and it was as good as we could do under those conditions. So I think whatever we do, whether it's inside the gym, whether it's everybody together, and that's gonna take some health department conversations, because when you're looking at 360, 380 seniors under those conditions with unlimited tickets, we're normally talking about 4,000 people come to graduation. You
And
got
Mr.
the
Bowles?
stadium, okay, you got the stadium that seats 5,000 people.
Is that where we're deciding to have it?
I'm just saying, I'm just throwing out the options and talking about the different places. If you have it outside and you bring everybody, you've got about 380 graduates, by the time you take in your staff and everybody's gonna be there. The stadium seats 4,000 people on the home side, seats 1,000 people.
5,000 on home side.
4,000 on the home side.
All 4,000.
1,000 on the visitor side, for a total of a little over 5,200.
that's right.
There's about 1,200 on the visitors, about 5,200 on the home.
And the old stadium seated what, 3,500?
The other one, it was, I'd have to go back and look.
I think that's right.
But this is all a moot point if you can't get the mat on the field, am I
No,
correct?
He's gonna do plywood.
Well, have you
We're
tried
fine
to
with
buy plywood lately?
Yeah, there's 105 seats available at Lowe's tonight.
Is that enough to put the
Yes.
seats and the stage?
If you did outside, the students would be seated. We've got mats to cover the rubberized track, that the chairs for the students could sit on the track. And the students, of course, would have their back to the home stands, and the parents would be in the home stands, and friends would be in the home stands. The students would be sitting on the track, and instead of being a long line of students facing the stage, it may be a longer, wider line facing the stage, but then the stage would be on the edge of the field, so that the students are facing the stage and the parents are facing the stage. That would eliminate the use. You wouldn't be able to use the bleachers on the far side of the field. One, they'd be too far away, and secondly, the backdrop of the stage would block anybody's view.
But our kids are gonna have their back to the
The
parents.
parents,
But
but they'd
you
be
got that.
facing the stage, just like they do now, and
So we'd be sitting in the stands and then you guys would have your backs to us.
But you
But you
just
still
walk
got
in
to
and
do
see
the
that
stage.
you're in a plywood.
No.
Yeah.
The students would be facing, you'd have the stage facing the bleachers. You'd have the students facing the stage and the parents sitting in the bleachers behind them facing the stage. Everybody would be facing the stage. That's kind of even a better situation than what we have up the other place, because they're kind of on the sides, and they're up on the sides of the students, and the parents really aren't facing the stage. That's if you did it outside. Now, if you do it and you don't limit tickets and don't divide it, you can expect you're gonna have, even in these COVID times, you're probably gonna have 3,000 to 4,000 people at the graduation.
But if you divide it up, what's the difference of having 2,000 people in the gymnasium that's ventilated,
Because the
or 4,000 people
gymnasium
outside?
still, if you divide it up, you're gonna have half that number, and and you could almost use that just upper arena, not even have any parents sitting in the lower arena where the kids are.
But you still got 2,000 people in there.
Exactly. You got 2,000 versus 3,000 to 4,000.
But one's
Now,
inside, one's outside.
And that makes a difference. That helps if you're outside. I don't know, that's not a question I can answer for you. That's a question I'll have for the health department. Is 2,000 people inside better than 3,000 or 4,000 outside? That's a health department question. I can get that answer pretty quick.
If you want to maximize, I mean, and I know you're talking a lot more money, but if you visualize how graduations used to be on a football field, if you did that same setup on the current field, put the chairs on the field, the stage down on one of the ends, you are able to utilize
The walking track.
80% of the track as a standing area as well as both bleachers. Now that, I mean, yes, there's gonna be some cost to that, but if you want to spread people out, you don't wanna have to deal with COVID issues, because I think currently, yes, we've talked about this, if this is the home bleachers right here and the stage is right here, you have to keep in mind, you're not gonna have as much room as you think. Yes, you're gonna have the bleachers, but the lines of sight, all this other area down here is wasted. It's not, you're not gonna be able to utilize it. So, yes, if you wanna do an outdoor graduation, you wanna maximize it and get people in, then we need to put the chairs, more plywood, and put the chairs on the field facing the stage, and it belongs to all those. Then you should not have any issues with that.
Is that a problem to do that?
It's just getting them.
Getting it done.
Getting in, and it's not your shoes, it's the chairs.
It's the chairs that
The
do it.
chairs. The chairs are the issue.
The chairs, we have ordered, we ordered a different footing on the chairs.
We normally, do we normally rent those chairs?
Yes, we do.
And we order them, we purchase them this time?
No, we rent, we could, but we never have, we rent them every year.
So we're going through the same process. that
And we have the
do.
stage rented for graduation, whether it's indoors or outdoors, we've got the stage rented. All we need to do, if it's gonna be outdoors, we need the plywood, the one that needs to.
And then we can reuse the plywood.
And we have to say, we can save the plywood, stack it in a storage unit somewhere and have it purchased from now on. This is, the plywood is kind of the same effect of what we talked about last year, buying the covering for the turf. It's way less than that. And there's not near as much of it. The way we talked about, the way Mr. Bowen kind of talked about this in the beginning, the possibility was going to not be out in the field in front of a goal post. It would be, like I said, turn around facing the bleachers. It lessens the amount of the field that you're on, walking on and have stage set up on or anything like that. The stage is coming, whether you do an indoor graduation and do it in 2 sessions, or you do an outdoor graduation in 2 sessions, or you do an outdoor in all in 1 session. It's the same stage, same backdrop, going to be set up the same. In the gym, it may have to be reduced by about 4 feet just because of space. We can do a little larger stage outdoors. But we have the ability with the stage coming to cut some of the size off and make it fit inside the gym. It's the same stage that's on hold. We're just waiting. I mean, it's going to be delivered on probably the 26th and start setting up. It's just a matter of where we set it up.
You're still gonna need plywood under the legs of the stage in the gym.
Gym too, but we've got the plywood.
Well, I've always been an outside, I've always said have it outside. When we started building this athletic complex all the way to now, I think it's, and then you use your gym to, if it rains, you go inside. That was what I thought our original plan was years ago when we started
I've been
this.
here 16 years in this district, and the superintendents in the past gave me that opportunity to make the decision on whether to have a prom, whether to call it off because of the weather or not. I don't know if that was a blessing or somebody else that didn't want to make the decision. I've called it off one time in 16 years. It was the most beautiful night we've ever had.
Oh, that was just a few years ago.
Yeah, it was the most beautiful night we ever had.
But, I mean, I say maybe do the football field and have it in one thing.
My recommendation is that you look to try to secure about 300 sheets of plywood
First.
and put the chairs on there, put the stage in one end, then you're not gonna have issues, because if you try to put 4,000 people in those stands, you're gonna have COVID issues. We know that. They're not gonna tell you you can go in there and just fill it. But if we're able to utilize 90% of the facility, it's gonna be irrelevant, because you can spread out and stand along the track. You're still gonna see your kid marching and see your kid go across the stage.
I like that, I like that. I mean, you got more space out there. Yeah, it might cost a little more for plywood, but,
Mr. Bowen, I know last year we approved, this board did 30,000 for the video. Is there anything that we can do for you to help make it just a spectacular graduation for these kids financially?
I think that the one thing that, and, you know, I keep hearing communication. Yes, I'll own some of that, but it's also hard for me to communicate something that's constantly changing. And, you know, you guys, or those of you that were on this board last year, you dealt with that because we were constantly dealing with COVID changes. You know, yes, we are going to do a luncheon. It's not been set, and here's why it's not been set, because part of it is going to involve a field day. And if we're going to go outside onto the football field with the stage, I'm probably going to have to back it up a week, because more than likely we're going to be out there working on the football field the entire last week of school. So that means the lunch and field day would have to back up into the preceding week. So yes, there's a lot of moving targets right now that we're trying to hit. I know I talked to one parent, I think, Ms. Bawley, I think you had asked me about t-shirts. I talked to a parent today who said they'd already ordered the t-shirts, so I know the board had allocated $2,500 earlier. That $2,500 will go to refrigerators, microwaves, ever how far we can make it go. Yes, I can't really speak to project graduation. I know one of our teachers has been getting some, I guess, volunteered, and the only reason she did it was because we had two groups come to us who wanted to make the donation, did not want to go to the other group, but wanted to make the donation to the drug coalition. So at one point, I think they had like $1,100. So any dime or money that is donated for that purpose will go back out to the kids, even for things to be raffled off. I'm not sure how much money the parent group has secured or anything like that, but I think if the board could find its way to a one-time deal to give a few extra dollars to buy gifts or stuff to raffle off and give away to kids. And I know we can't buy gift cards, but we can buy other items that can be given away. And that's what we did last year. They had about $7,000 or $7,000 or something like that in the drug coalition.
So if there is no project graduation this year, when are they gonna do the raffling? When is that planned?
It's gonna be done during the senior luncheon.
Senior lunch.
And do you have the money covered to take care of the senior luncheon?
Some, I know we've been working with food service. I think food service has quoted, I think it's $1,500. They're gonna tag somehow that Ms. Banks has got it worked out. Becky probably can tell you more about how they can use it. Use some food service money, and then I think it's an additional $1,500 for, really nice, not normal food service food, but that. And then Ms. Hines has been working on a sunrise breakfast event outside, so I think they quoted that at about $500, so that's another $2,000 there. I think it's important that you really look to buy the plywood, 300 sheets of plywood, put the chairs on there, then you're not going to have the issues. Because I think the last thing you want right now is to come up closer to graduation and then you say, oh, we're restricted on numbers. And then we're going to go backwards. So if we can go whole hog and do it in mass, then we're not going to have issues with the numbers. And yes, I think too, again, it's been a very interesting, it's a COVID, everybody keeps saying it's a COVID year, but I think what funds you could allocate, like I said, I know Ms. Banks had quoted it was $1,500, so $2,000 for the breakfast and luncheon, and then what other funds you could come up with, we'll use for stuff to be given
Can I
away.
say on the stage part, I can help out with that. I think in this case, as was last year with the video, I see no reason why we can't dip into ESSER funds to help with the graduation. That would offset your costs as far as anything we're doing on the field. Now, the food, I'm not sure I can swing ESSER funds to buy the food. The board has already put $2,500 into the project graduation. If you wanted to do more somewhere to help with food, that would be entirely up to you. If you put $2,500 in so far for this part. But I can take care of the plywood, and we already take care of the stage, and we can take care of that.
Do you feel an issue of getting the plywood?
There may be. We'll probably have to go to 4 or 5 counties, but we'll find them. Clark County, as of today, at Lowe's, they had 105 sheets.
Okay.
I don't know if they'll have another shipment.
Don't hush,
But you
won't have
better
any.
put it on hold.
Yeah, you better call real
You better
quick.
call.
They quoted those to us for $71
Yeah.
a sheet, so logistically, 300 sheets would be $21,300. It's a lot of plywood.
That's a lot of plywood.
How much is the mat for the field? How much was the mat for the
I'll
field?
go back and pull, I have to get with Arlene, what, pull the meeting. where we
It was like
talked
$60,000 or
about that.
$70,000.
It was much more than that, however, you were getting a lot more than, you were getting something, to go down on the field, if you wanted to have an outdoor concert, you could drive, set stages up and.
Is it too late to get that, or check
Yeah,
into
what's the
that before you buy
turnaround
the
time on
plywood?
that? Cause we're spending a lot on plywood. I
Let
mean,
me check.
I feel like eventually it would just be natural that we would probably need that.
I mean, you could do other events on it too, that's the thing, you could open it up, and
Yeah.
have, I mean, you could have concerts on that if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Why are we just now
Yeah, the
looking
mat.
into
We
it?
The mat.
Now, what time are y'all thinking of graduation?
I wasn't
Oh, we
here,
always
so I
had,
didn't.
it was off, graduation was, what, 6:30, 7:30?
6:30.
So is that the set time?
Do you need to make sure you can have it outside before you set the time, or?
Calm
It's
down,
always-
Tish.
if
It's not a set
outside,
time yet,
it'll be
no.
7
Are you
o'clock.
going to,
7 o'clock.
are you going to do a rain date
Yeah, it's-
instead of, you
it
cannot
backs up
move it
day to
in?
day. It's on a rain day.
So
If you
there
stay
won't
outside-
be
If
a.
you stay outside, I mean, I'm just, you gotta understand too, you say move inside, and it's
You
not.
can't do that.
Right.
You can't.
You can't
Okay,
do it
that's
on
what
your
I'm
own.
asking.
If it rains on Friday night and it's a rain out, and it bumps to Saturday.
Okay,
Right.
that's what I thought that, we needed to say
But
that.
that's what we did a couple years ago.
Yeah, you just have to say that out loud.
So if it rains
Rain and
Friday.
plywood did not get along though.
No. Yeah.
You want the family to stay?
They don't have to, girl, they have to see it.
So do we need to approve funds tonight so that he can get busy?
Not if it's Esther, not if it's Esther. If you
Okay.
make a decision to do that, the only way that I can help is go through Esther. Esther can be used, anything that's COVID related, and to me, this has
You need
been dictated by COVID.
I think we
We'll
went, I
be
think
having
we
this
should,
He
conversation
needs funds for his food.
to the extent that we're
Yeah, we need to
having
add some
with
food.
COVID.
Can we not take some out of the budget?
You
I
can,
mean,
it's a
what-
regular meeting, you can do it.
we can't do that, it's not on the
She can
agenda.
add it, she can add it, right, because it's a regular
After the
meeting.
agenda's been approved?
Well, you've
She
got
can
to
amend
amend
it.
it.
have a, as long as you have a super majority.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I feel like we're super majority.
Yeah.
Would you all be in favor of, is $5,000 enough, Mr. Bowen?
For food.
Yeah.
For- Would you all, I mean, is that enough? I don't.
I think we, yeah, I think so. We can make that work.
You
Like I
have to
said, it's
tell
all
us.
gonna go to stuff.
You have
we
to
can
tell
get
me, you- 6?
Do you
10.
need to come back?
I know, that's right, no,
Let's go with 6, let's just say 6.
6,000.
You got a budget meeting next month.
Find the money.
I think coming up my road.
Find the money.
I mean, I would've took the 10 if she was offered, I mean, really?
Find the money. Alicia can find it.
I don't wanna be greedy.
But you might take 7.
It's for them.
I'll take 7. Take whatever.
Okay,
I
so,
think 1 hour.
So you wanna
We
make,
want it to be a nice,
yes, they
Thanks
deserve
again.
it, we
So-
want it, we've heard them loud and clear, let's go with it. So what do you want? Your final number?
Do you need to ask Becky?
Well, that's, I know those numbers are pretty much solid. I don't know, I mean, I don't wanna sit up here, but I think if,
We can.
how about we make, how about I say
10?
this?
Did I hear a 10 out there? 10.
10?
10.
Let's go with 10 and it will be used wisely.
graduation
We'll report back to you.
graduation to that 10? Can you take out of that project graduation? I mean, because they're gonna do like a luncheon, and you're gonna do gifts for the kids, and that can come out of that.
I just can't,
Yeah.
you cannot buy gift.
You cannot buy.
Cannot gift cards, but you can do,
Like
Whatever you got for
Refrigerators.
food.
Refrigerators.
yeah.
so that 10,000 can be used
Alicia?
for food and.
Just
gifts.
graduation in
okay?
general,
Okay.
and seniors.
Is that to use, to, that, out of that 10 to purchase maybe like those little refrigerators or microwaves?
And TVs or whatever. Game boxes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you good?
Good.
I make a motion to, approve $10,000 for.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Point
Hold
of
on.
order. You have to first make a motion to amend
The
the
agenda.
agenda, because the agenda has already been adopted. So you have to
Okay.
make a motion to amend the agenda to add a line item for funds to be allocated toward the graduation. You can say that however you want.
So we would make that 4B.
Yeah.
You can make it
But we're not,
4B,
no,
4C,
we're not
whatever
done
you
with
want.
4A yet. So let's make, I'm gonna make a motion on 4A, then you do 4B. Okay. So, on 4A, I make a motion that, we approve graduation, full graduation for outside at the football field and instruct the, Mr. Christie, Mr. Boland, staff to make proper arrangements either with the, to protect the field and to spread, attendance out as much as possible utilizing that field.
And it's a one sitting,
One graduation though.
sitting graduation.
One graduation, full graduation.
7 o'clock.
Gotcha.
So if they have to, if they decide to do the math, if he finds out we can get the turnout on the math, then you want him to
Then
call
I
a
think,
special
I think
meeting
he needs
and.
to call a immediate special meeting for us to approve that special
All right.
meeting.
I think we need to
Oh.
consider that.
Or can you purchase that through the extra funds? The
Not
map?
man.
Not, I
Okay.
doubt,
And that's a
Because
six,
it would be
he's
more
gotta have our
permanent, wouldn't
approval,
it?
Yeah.
$60,000.
Okay. We just need to call a special meeting immediately.
So call, you'll have to call. All right. So motion by Mr. Talby,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Hendricks. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, now Sherry, go.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see, I make a motion to amend the agenda to include item 4B, funds allocated for graduation.
Okay, funds allocated. You just wanna say, does it need to say graduation or just seniors? Cause she's not really giving it to graduates.
What do we need
Some
to
of it's
say?
going to that.
Well,
building.
project graduation.
You can say for graduation.
For graduation and project graduation.
Okay.
Yes, for
Graduation.
activities related around project, excuse me, graduation.
Okay.
For activities related or
Activities involving graduation.
involving graduation.
Is that good with you, Sherry?
Yeah,
So now we have to have a second, or we have to have a vote. It has to be-
I second it.
Second by Ms. Considine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion, oh, no.
No, I said
Okay. Motion carries 5-0.
I might have said no, I don't know. But
I didn't
agree.
mean you, I just couldn't get out what I was trying to say.
And then now,
And
Sherry,
now-
you
now
have,
you gotta make
now
a
it's, now it's on the agenda, you
Agenda.
can now make the motion
Motion.
to allocate, to spend those funds.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve $10,000 for activities, to include
Relating to graduation.
relating to graduation.
All right, motion by Ms. Richardson,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Talby. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. So, that part is good to go. So, we are now on item number 5.
Maybe eventually I'm gonna have to get up and move.
5 is 5A.
Do we have a 5A? Okay.
Oh, please,
Those
don't
are
be
the-
messing with this.
Do you want to do, Paul, how long is your 5?
My part, I submitted it to you also, you can look at the
Yes.
questions. I just wanted to add one thing. We had today, since I even did this, Kentucky Leadership Kentucky has contacted us, and they want to come to the GRC for a tour for those leaders in that leadership program in Kentucky. They're going to tour L8 and they want to tour GRC. So that's huge.
We're up to
With
L8.
Kentucky leadership.
Yes.
You got moving on up?
I did have one question on the update that you sent out, and it had to do with the Chromebooks and the repair of the Chromebooks. Is that becoming an issue? Are we having a lot of that, repairs? Are we getting those back in a timely manner?
I'll let Justin, I can talk to it, but I'll let Justin,
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more repairs than what we have in years past when the students were taking them home, which was to be expected. I don't have a percentage of how much are being repaired, but the costs are becoming quite a bit. And so my recommendation was going to be, as we move forward into the next school year, was to have the Chromebooks still stay 1-to-1, but have the Chromebooks, just remain at school during school hours, and then the kids that need to take them home for at-home work would then be able to do so. But yeah, the repairs have been really costly, particularly at the middle school level. But you all did approve back in June or July that part of the agreement was the $5 everybody pays, as well as the $50 first incident fee, and that's helped defray the cost quite a bit. That was particularly helpful.
Are we having any issues with lost Chromebooks?
No, not so much lost. We had a couple that were taken as kids left the district, and I guess, and the Chromebook went with them.
Relocation.
We tracked down some, others we had to file police reports along those lines, but that's been few and far between. It's been the repairs part that's been the most cost not effective.
Is that something you're gonna have to bring to the board on costs, or is it you handling that at the moment?
Bring what before the board again?
Is there gonna be additional expenses that we're gonna need to approve for the cost of the repairs?
I'll have to look at the agreement, how much I want to rework it for next school year. A lot will depend on what we decide to do as a district with the Chromebooks.
Okay.
The more they remain in schools, the less we would want to charge.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, with that being said, I'm gonna call, 10 minutes? 10-minute recess.
Thank you.
I gotta move.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We have Dr. Tardin here from RSA Advisors. We laid some documents on each of your stations there, and he's going to review those with you as far as bonding capacity goes for our district.
Good evening. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you. You normally hear from Lincoln Thinard from our firm. So I'm not Lincoln, but we have several bankers in our firm that are very well versed in school funding. And he had a prior commitment, so I'm going to be here tonight. I'll be going over what we call our plan of finance or bonding report with you. And just let me say, anytime you want to stop me to ask the question, interrupt. I don't mind interruptions at all. I'd rather answer the question when you have it rather than you save it, forget it. Okay. And then at least we can get you to understand what I'm trying to say, because I may not be too clear and I'd like to clarify it with you. So please do that. And one other thing, it's called a bonding update. There's nothing mysterious about bonding. In school finance, it's really the equivalent of getting a construction loan or going to the bank to get a loan. You're borrowing money to do improvements in your buildings. We call it bonding because our source of our funds are the sale of municipal bonds. And the municipal bonds, the interest are tax-free to the investor. Therefore, it's a cheaper source of money to you as a board. But that's why it's called bonding update, because what we're talking about, what's your ability to borrow money and how much can you borrow it for whatever your needs are. So that's really what we're going to talk about, your ability. And I laid these in front of you, and I've also laid a definition sheet that I'll refer to for you as we go through our presentation here. The first page there is just merely a table of contents of what I'll be covering with you. We're going to look at, similar to if you had a personal balance sheet, if you went to a bank to borrow money like I was talking about, we'll be looking at the payments or what you already owe, what your liabilities are. We'll look at your sources of revenue, and then that's what we can make a decision about whether you're capable to borrow more money at this point in time. So if you'll turn with me to page 1, the outstanding net local debt service is what we call this page. And on all of my charts that I present, the left-hand column will be fiscal years. And we run them out for 20 years because that's typically what we sell school bonds for in Kentucky, is 20 years. And then across the top there, I have a column that shows each debt that you have, or if you would say a loan that you've taken, we call them a bond that you've sold, a bond series that have been sold. So each of those have a title as you go across those, and then we show the payments that are left or outstanding on each of those issues or each of those loans. And we get over to the far right, column J, we just merely total the debt. So those are we start out there fiscal year 22, your debt will be $4,105,000. That is the total debt that you have on money that you borrowed. And this debt, by the way, is only for facilities. Has nothing else to do with anything else. Our dollars that we're speaking about are restricted funds. They're dollars that are used only for facilities. They have nothing to do with your operating budget. These are the munis codes. If you go to KSBA seminars, or 310 and 320, basically we're talking about restricted money. So I've often get questions of why can a board build buildings and they can't give teachers a raise? Well, that's because we have restricted funds. There's a separation of funds there that are restricted for general purposes. The next page that we're going to is what I call a summary of funds available. And this, again, would be the equivalent to the banker asking you what your salary or what your source of revenue was going to be to pay the debt back if they made a loan. So the concept here is, what would your ability to pay off debt that you have and insecure new loans if you need to do so? And school bonds are what we call revenue stream supported debt. In other words, we have a specific stream of revenue that we can identify by state law that says your district's going to get X amount of money, therefore you have the ability to pay back certain amounts of loans. So that's what this page is actually referring to. If we look at my columns across there, I've labeled local nickel, original growth nickel, capital outlay. That's where this page could come in handy if you would like to look at it a little farther or get more in depth. I won't take you there too far tonight. But basically, if we look at method of computing bonding potential down there, each school district in Kentucky has about 4 main sources. Now, there are 8 total sources that we look across the state. Our firm, we work with over 100 different school districts, and they each have a combination of revenue sources. But all of them usually have these common 4 that I list here: the local nickel, building fund nickel, and then the capital outlay source, and then school facilities construction. Those are state and local sources that we have ability. Then there's a series of optional, and again, if we talk about nickels in Kentucky, because all facilities is built around nickels, 5 cents per $100 of assessment, that's our nickel. And all districts has a local nickel, that's what your column B is. Now, you all have an additional nickel that was put on as what was called a growth nickel. Back in the early 2000s, districts that were growing 5% a year for 5 years in a row were able to levy a second nickel. And then if you continued that growth, you could have actually leveled a second growth nickel. You all did not continue that growth, but you levied a first growth nickel. Now, to match those local nickels, if you look at my column E there, you'll see a column labeled FSPK. It stands for Facility Support Program of Kentucky, which you can see a definition on my sheet there. The common language you'll hear people refer to that, though, is equalization. And if you go to KSBA seminar, they'll talk about, does your district get equalization? Well, yes, your district does. Now, what equalization is, the state law says that they're going to equalize every student to the equivalent of 150% of the equivalent nickel statewide. So what that means is they look at all the assessments statewide, see what a nickel generates. They divide that by the ADA, and they come up with a number each biennium that happens to be $458 per student this biennium. They then run that same calculation for your district, divide and subtract what your answer is from the state answer, and you then get the difference. So just to make it easy to understand, if it's $458 is the threshold, or the 150% of the state average, and you generated $300 local, then the state would provide you $158 for every student that you have for each nickel that you have, okay? So that's basically how it's done, and that's how we get the Facility Support Program of Kentucky, or what we call equalization. Just by quick glance there, you see that your local taxes produce $1.6 million, your equalization produces $518,000. What that tells us is that you're on the upper side of that. You're more well off than the average. If you were less well off, you would be getting more from the state than you would be locally. But still, no one's going to laugh at $500,000 every year for each nickel that you have. The state's going to provide you. So then the same thing happens with column F there. You have the original growth nickel. You see the equalization for it. So we get to column G, which are local funds. That's the total amount you have restricted each year by law to use for facilities, okay? And then column H is what your payments. That's merely my page 1. I just pulled the payments in there, and it shows me column I. Those are the dollars you have uncommitted. Those are what you have to do something with, should you desire to do that. And I'll show you later where you desire to do some of that. Then column J and K and L represent School Facilities Construction Commission. We've called it FSCC here on our chart. And that is an agency in the state that gets an amount from the legislature each year. They then provide it to the districts based on what we call unmet need. And unmet need is something that gets produced when you do your local facility plan. Your LPC produces a report, produces your needs. The state looks at what you have in revenue sources versus your need. The difference is something called unmet need. So then you get your proportion of unmet need compared to the state's unmet need, compared to whatever the legislature has appropriated in a given biennium session. And you have 8 years in which to use and offer assistance. So you've got 2 there pending when you decide to use them. Get to call them in, that's my important number. That's the number we had to work with to see what type of bonding that you really have available to you. Any questions that I could answer at this point? Okay, I'll move forward. Column C, page 3, I always like to see the number that really matters is column C, bottom line. Most board members I deal with are bottom line sort of people anyway, but bottom line, column C, that's the amount we would say you could borrow right now very conservatively, should you need to do so. Now, we try to make our estimates in a conservative nature so that in 6 months we come back here, we don't have to tell you you don't really have that. So what that says to you, if you really wanted to borrow that money tonight, we probably could borrow a bit more than that. That's a conservative number, okay? But it's $15 million, we feel safe that you can do that. And if you did that, if you look at my column K over there, that shows the amount of money we would not be using, so that you really haven't reached the point we call bonded out. You would not be bonding yourself out. Many districts have to get to the point where they bond themselves out just to get what they need. You would not be doing that. As you can see, you have revenue left, okay?
So you're saying we really have 15 million right now for a construction project, the bonding potential, and even if we use the entire 15 million,
We wouldn't be bonded.
You still have
we still have
100,000.
6 million available.
We'd have 100,000 annual debt service left over there about to work with. Yes, sir. That's what I'm saying. Now, if we move on to my summary page, it's the same number from that page 3. As you look, my total bonding potential is $15 million that are right in the middle. What I've shown you on this page that you all have approved or sent to the state BG1s for alternative school and preschool. Those projects we have budgeted at $11,920,000. So that would say to us, these are fairly well committed. You could back out on them at any time, but you've made that decision at that point. So that would say we have $3,080,000 left right at this point uncommitted. And then my next line there, what I'm saying to you is we would project July 22, after this coming fiscal year, there'll probably be another 2 million growth in there. And could be more. If we got as good a budget this year as we got the past year, it could be more than that, because normally that FSPK generates about a $20 increase per student for the last 3 budget sessions. This past budget session, it generated 40. So that was a significant move. Now, I don't see 20 happening again, because assessments statewide appear to be increasing. 88 is not. So it's a mathematical calculation that should drive that up. The only thing the legislature could choose not to fund it. But so far, they've never chosen not to fund equalization. Ever since 1998, they've fully funded that. So I would say you count at least another 2 million in July of 22. It could be more at that point. So any questions about your bonding capacity or the terms I've used?
We just kind of have a general comment, I guess. So we still have 3 million left on bonding for this year before the 2 million in July.
Yes, sir.
So if we wanted, if the board decided to make any adjustments to the current plans, the facilities plan, we could do that.
Yes, sir.
Possibly, depending upon the,
Yes.
possibly, I guess.
And I say July 2 million, actually you could, in the spring of the year, actually, we could be selling bonds for more, because we get that commitment from the legislature, then we can sell at July 1st time. So if you needed to get something moving by the spring of the year, that's a possibility also, looking at that extra money even. Any other questions? Well, we appreciate the opportunity to work with you and to be with you here tonight, so.
Thank you. Very helpful. Okay. Item number 7, consider approval of Senate Bill 128 application. I'm not sure why it's got your name on it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't know why it's got Bill's name, but I think that's actually technically you.
Well, all I was, like we talked about in the earlier meeting, the recommendation tonight is to adopt just the application and let us put it out there and see what we get, and then come back with you in sometime prior to the May meeting, talk to you about it, and give you the time to make the decision at the May meeting on what you want to do.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
guess
we
from
need
you, what I would really like is that heading at the top that you looked at, you all kind of look at that and see what, how specific you want it to be. If even one of those by themselves works, or if you want to make a combination of the two.
You know, I kind of like the one in bold print better than the other one, but.
See, I like the other one because it's got more information.
Yeah, I do too, and you could maybe put that in bold print.
Yeah.
When you talk about the certain things. But this longer paragraph has the information about the student athletes that the shorter paragraph doesn't. And I think we need to at least address some of that on
That
this
last
in writing.
4 lines of that long one, the parents and students of athletes, I mean, that can be added, that last 4, those last 4 lines, 2 or 2 sentences, or whatever that is, that can be added to the shorter one, that takes that added to the athletic piece.
Yeah, I think I agree, I think parents for student athletes sentence there should be added to the other one. This other one that's a little longer, I find it a little repetitive, because you say local board of education shall not approve or reject requests on an individual basis, but shall determine by June 1st, 2021, where the district shall or shall not accept all requests. And then over here, it's added, school districts are not allowed to decide on an individual basis, which you kind of already said that.
Well, you wanna move the student athlete over those last 4?
Yeah, I think that bottom section, starting with parents and student athletes, probably just need to be moved over.
Yeah,
That's my recommendation.
yeah.
Those last, you said those last 4, where it starts with parents.
With parents and student athletes, yeah.
Okay.
Because that is, like, very relevant probably to a few people.
The other one, I may have a lot more information, the idea is to get them to look at this other piece, and it's to spur the conversation between the administrators and the parents, that's the main idea of this. And also, in case you hadn't caught it, in that box on the front page where it says student age, it should be as of, student age as of August 1st. You correct that, I don't have, we end up making copies of the one we didn't correct, but that'll be corrected on the,
Yeah, that's correct on the other one.
We
No,
might
it's
need
not.
to have,
Okay. It says that.
yeah, we might need to have, the May 1st deadline on that other paragraph,
That's what I was thinking too.
because it doesn't have that May
It says,
1st.
shall be determined by June 1, but doesn't have the May 1st deadline, that they have to be submitted.
I put that on top.
Yeah.
Just put it right there in bold
well,
print.
where it has it, if you look at, when you go over to the back, that last page, you'll see timeline, May 1st, all parent student requests are due. By June 1st, board approval or denial of all requests, and by June 16th, final adoption. That's on that 3rd page, it's got the deadline, the time frame.
Yeah, but I'm not
But
gonna
I
be
would
looking
put
at that
it,
third page with the
I would
parents.
put it in that first paragraph.
That the line you want to use, these requests must be submitted to our board office by May 1st, 2001.
Yes.
The student and or the parents may rescind this request at any time before May 31st.
Yeah.
And then our school board is,
No, I think you're okay, because it's bolded in the other one.
Yeah.
But I
just
think
those
if
two
you,
sentences.
yes, and I would put it before the bold statement.
Okay.
Keep your dates kind of all together.
So is the parents to submit this to the board office or to the principal?
It'll go to the principals, and then we'll have a deadline, we'll meet with the principals, when they collect them on the first, we'll set a time on the second to talk to meet with the principals.
Okay, so but they're gonna submit it to this office, and then you'll dole it out to the principals?
We talked about just going straight to the principals first, things seem to get back to the principal quicker than they get back quicker to the school than the central office. We can do it either way.
No,
Well, you
because
just
they
need to
can't-
change it one way or the other.
It just needs to change.
Either way,
the-
we're going on the second, we're gonna have a meeting with principals talking about how many kids, either we've got the application for, or they've got the application, total the application.
Well, you just need to decide and fix it in here, one way or the other.
I think you want to be very specific about who they're gonna submit it to at the school. You don't want it to get lost at the school.
We have to do back to central office at 1600 West Lexington Avenue by May the 1st. By 8 or 10 a.m. on May the 1st.
So you're wanting to go ahead and collect them here
If we
then?
need one collection point, I'd rather come here and we can work through DPP, or we can work through something here to where we got a collection point.
I think that might be easier. I'm afraid they might get lost at the school. Trust me, I've lived at a school before. And, you know, you don't mean to lose things. So,
I can put that, come at the end, is that all right, to put that at the end of the line after when reviewing all requests, all applications are due back to Clark County Central Office at 1600 West Lexington Avenue by 10 a.m. on Monday, or whatever day, May
May
1st, whatever
1st,
day it
yeah.
is, I don't know. Is that all right?
You want them to submit, are you gonna allow them to submit this in, electronic form?
We'll have it on, we'll put it out on websites, state or district website, we can put it on the school website.
I mean, are you going to email this in, or are you gonna make, or is it gonna need to be printed
When
on?
we say to do back, it's,
Okay.
sometimes we've not specified whether they.
We had discussed some concerns about turning them into the principal, if the principal needs to have a discussion with the parent about if the child was gonna be requested or wanted to come to summer school, did they think that the child could be caught up if they attended summer school? So that was something that we, May 1st deadline is a hard choice for a parent to make on their child to repeat a year. If there is a possibility with after-school tutoring and summer school provided, they may be assured that they could be caught up at that time.
But in the application, we make that point in the application, and it's also one of the bulleted items that you talked about at the end about the possibility of taking part in ESS or after summer school. That's part of the application, they check whether they're gonna be doing that.
I mean, I think if I was questioning you, I think I would call you and be like, I would call my principal and be like, okay, here's my situation, we're on the fence, what's your opinion? I mean, that's just kind of my,
well, if you look at the actual law,
Right.
it says, a student of this section shall submit the request to the local board of education of the district in which the student is enrolled by May 1st. I think we have to be very careful that we don't not follow the law, correct? Would I be correct, board attorney?
And I put that address to the central office on it.
Isn't that,
What you don't want, Brenda, you don't want it to somebody that, you know.
Say, it went to
principal-
someplace
it went to
else.
the principal on May 1st,
And,
but it didn't make it to the board.
yes.
Is it, there a timeline in the bill that states they could pull out of, they could fill out the application, but there's a timeline where they could
And that's on
pull
that
that out?
Yeah, it's on
long
that paper.
paragraph, May 31st.
But you're
You
looking
can
at the
rescind
actual
your,
Okay,
law.
there you go. But I switched my mind, just use that whole paragraph. But, you
You're
know,
gonna go back to the long one?
By the time you add everything to the short one, it's gonna be the same, it's gonna be about the same one. As long as the proper information is sent out to the parents, that's the main point, that we approve the application. They only have, what, 2 weeks, a little 2 weeks?
Very
Right.
short time.
We, in that line that you asked me to put in, that one that said these requests must be submitted to their board, office, May 1st, 2021, the student and/or parents may rescind this request at any time before May 31st. That's already gonna be in
That's
this
in
up
there.
there.
Yeah.
That's up above that highlighted picture.
Yeah, I'm not real sure at this point, what are you putting over here that's not already in this one?
Yeah.
I would just go with this one, Paul. I would just call it done.
And maybe bold what you
Yeah,
liked in
make some
bold.
bold print, yeah.
Yeah, just put it in bold print.
I put in bold print when it's due.
Just put the due date on this backpack part back here. or-
Just go with this one and put it,
the dates in bold.
Yeah, put the
Yeah.
dates in bold, point that out.
I think that'd be a whole
All
lot
right,
easier.
I think I got, how about I write this
How
up,
about
and send it to you all, in an email for you all to approve, and just tell me, this looks like what we talked about, make sure that I've got it the way you want it, because we talked about it the other.
Well, we just made it easier. Go with this one.
Okay, but you wanted something highlighted.
Put your
dates.
dates in bold print.
Dates.
Dates,
the dates.
bold print, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
there. You make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to approve the application for Senate Bill 128 and put the dates in bold print.
Motion by Mr. Tolby.
Second,
Who was that?
Considine.
Okay.
I said it in such an angelic voice, you didn't know who it was.
No. Motion by Tolby, second by Considine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 8, consider approval of audit contract. Ms. Ellis, where did you go?
Okay, I'm in the like echo zone, so not too bad. So in February of 2020, we approved, Summers McCurry and Sparks as our auditor for the next 3 years, and each year we have to do a contract with them that KD puts out, so this is just the official audit contract for the current fiscal year we're in, and it requires board chair and secretary signatures, so it is the sole purpose of why it is online.
There wasn't any changes.
Every year they tweak a few things in here, but I mean, it's just compliance pieces that they have to, for KDE look at. But there's no changes as far as regards to their contract or services with us.
Do you need an approval on that? I make a yeah, I'll make a motion. I was like, maybe I shouldn't, okay. I make a motion
Okay.
to approve the,
Brenda thinks she makes a
I
motion.
think I make the motion. on the
I'll
audit
second.
contract.
Was that you?
Richardson.
Okay. Motion by Considine, second by Richardson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Item number 9, consider approval of the 2021-2022 final SBDM allocations.
So these are almost exactly like the tentative that was presented to you. There's just a couple tweaks that after we sat down in each of the allocation meetings. On the projected enrollment, we just increased preschool by 7 kids, which is not a whole lot, but it's just, that is the max number, 255, based on the current staffing level they are at that they can serve with their ratios. So we just took it from the 248 to the 255. And then Something I did not put in the summary slides of the tentative was just a summary of our special education staff. But when we sat down and looked at that, I inadvertently left off, the way we were tracking our instructional aides. I had them labeled, incorrectly, and so sitting down and looking at that meeting, we corrected them for a couple, 3 schools. So the overall is a gain of 1 IA, but you can see that difference column. So that's just where we actually stand. That is already what was in the budget. They were budgeted correctly. I just, on the form itself, inadvertently left the number off, so that was a correction. But otherwise, these pretty much stand exactly as they were presented to you at the tentative level. Are there any questions in our staffing allocation?
So in the PowerPoint,
Yes, ma'am.
on, let's see which slide I'm on, 7, the CARES Act funded positions.
Yes.
So 12, and for some reason, why was I thinking they were all at Baker, Campbell, and GRC? Is there gonna be one at Concrete and 2 at Justice and 1 at Shear?
So this slide has not changed from what the tentative was. So
Okay.
there's gonna be, the first column is the number of teachers at each of the schools. So 1 at Concrete, 2, 1, 0, 4, 3, and 1
And that's our
respectively as
12.
they're listed. So a total of 12 teachers will be on the
Funded.
CARES.
For
Yes.
1 year?
For 1 year.
Okay.
So just for the purposes of budgeting and how our budget was falling out when we were looking at it at the draft level and trying to get back to a more even budget, this is what we did at the time. This will be completely reevaluated for staffing allocations next year. This is not a set allocation to go forward with other than for the 2022 school year.
Okay.
It will be completely looked at once again for the 2023.
But we did change the staffing allocation formulas.
Yes, they were changed so that these numbers that we needed budget-wise to fall out as Section 6 CARES funded, it was modified to make the numbers fall out the way we needed it to for budgeting purposes. I mean, if we did not have the CARES Act, we would have seriously had
some
to be
cuts.
look at, unfortunately, cutting some positions for funding. But fortunately, we did not have to do that because we did
Right.
substantially get a large chunk of money.
What
I think
does-
You guys have, we got the ESSER three now.
Oh, we did?
ESSER three money, 16 million. ESSER three. They extended that deadline to use that until 24, December 24, so it was out another year. We got, it was actually 15.8, but because in ESSER two, we're using 85% of the staffing, and for the educational piece, we're getting an additional 380,000 for that, so that takes us up to 16 million in that.
Will, as a board, will we receive how ESSER funds are being
As we do
spent?
things, we'll show you where it's spent.
Okay, because we don't technically see federal grant money.
No, but you don't technically do that, but there are things like we just talked about a few minutes ago with the other stuff.
With the
that throughout
allocation.
week, and there may be some things that you all will come up with that we need to look at being able to use that money for.
Okay. So with
It's kind
all-day
of
kindergarten? All-day kindergarten, what is that a plus
It's in
for
the budget,
1
it's
year?
in the budget, it added something to the budget, and that's why we were able to go back and do some things, and you'll see that next month when we do the.
So half-day added $683,000 to our budget. So that is a nice,
It was a nice bonus.
yes.
But for 1 year.
Kind of equal.
Mhm.
And from all conversations with legislators, that looks like that's going to be the future. The only thing that bothers me is they use that as a little bit of a overtip this time, get some other things passed. If they've got the money to do it, I don't think it's a good idea to do that. I think they're most seem to be in line, with probably trying to continue that when they do the 2-year thing, but next year, keep that.
Make a motion to approve item 9 is written.
Motion by Mr. Colby. A second. Second by Ms. Considine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 10. review of the third quarter finances for the general fund.
Okay, so, this quarterly report is looking at our current fiscal year and comparing it to the two prior years at the same, point in time. And slide 3 is that 3-year comparison of our revenues. And we're down a percentage from last year and 3% from the prior year, although when you look at the actual collection amounts, we're actually up. It's just the way the budget, we had a substantially smaller budget this year than the prior 2 years, the way we budgeted, trying to pull back and be more conservative. Great news is we are actually already like at 99% collection of our taxes, which as previous conversations in the prior year, that was an issue for us. So we have done a better job on the budgeting and collection of that number. So that was great news and seeing that on this. The motor vehicle is right at 53%, but that's really kind of right in line with how it's been the prior 2 years. So that's not out of line. We will start seeing some more of our budget come in towards the next few months. Otherwise, all the other percentages of every revenue category is either right at the same or has exceeded the prior years. Are there any questions on revenues? So expenses on page 6, slide 6, we have tried to be very conservative, obviously with everything going on, and with COVID in our spending, and that is reflected in this third quarter. We're at 44% spend versus 50% last year, and it's actually kind of in line with 19. We were at 45 in FY19. The biggest probably area that is down is our salaries, which is not a big percentage, but salaries and benefits are lower because we've not had as many subs, as many extra service with COVID and everything going on. And a lot of our extra service at this point would be in our classified staff with trip driving and all of that in our transportation department. And that is huge on our benefits because retirement for classified is 24%. And so that's where the largest decrease is reflected. You'll see 13% in our benefits, whereas we were at 19 the prior 2 years at this quarter. So a lot of that has to do with those classified extra service duties. Read my notes.
About other purchase services, it's down.
So that's pretty much every category is down from the prior years. But the other purchased, that is, my brain's trying to think. A lot of that is our insurance is paid out of that category. I normally have a note of everything paid out of the category, and I did not make that note this time. I'd have to go look specifically to see what the largest difference is. I don't have a note of that, so I apologize. If we project fourth quarter wise what we did in FY20 and FY19, it was roughly, both of those quarters, we roughly spent right at $25 million for just the last quarter of the year. So if we add essentially $25 million to our current spend, we're still going to come in basically in an average of 90% spend rate, so still not even 100% of our budget. And then same thing with revenues. If we kind of go with how we've done collection-wise the last 2 years at the fourth quarter, we look at a 103% collection over our budget. And if you do the math of that, it actually looks like we're going to roll forward about $7 million, which is fantastic news because we put in the draft budget $5 million. Now, it's not guaranteed we're going to still have that $2 million. It depends on decisions that are made by you all of any extra projects, summer projects that you'll be seeing coming forward, and any significant needs that pop up prior to June 30th that would be included in that. And then also any purchase orders that don't get paid out by June 30 roll forward as well, so that could change that beginning balance a little bit too. So that's really good news from where we stood here in January. We're talking about our finances that kind of looked dire. We've gotten great news with the half-day kindergarten, being full-day kindergarten. That's fantastic news. We have this ESSER money that has allowed us to not spend some things on general fund that would typically, we would have had to pick up in general fund. We've been allowed to spend that out of CARES with the matrix. So That has helped significantly on the budget as well. But any questions?
I agree, it's great news considering last year, going into this year.
So would it be unreasonable to ask, like we get a general fund update, to get a ESSER update? Because I mean, 7 and, what did you say the next round is?
15-8.
I mean, my gosh, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
And that has to go to 24. I mean, that's good.
Right.
December 24. I have a problem with that.
I mean, it just would help us know how it's being spent if people in the community ask us.
So a report similar to what you get on general fund, just on the ESSER funds.
Yeah.
And as we move through it.
And I mean, like, how often do you do this one? Like 3 months or?
The quarter report?
Yeah, every 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just on a quarterly,
Yeah.
okay. That is all I have, if there is no other questions.
Thank you.
Number 11, consider approval of revisions to procedure 0.9.11 AP 22 and 10.11 AP .21.
Just got a text message that May the 1st is on a Saturday. If you all want to look at making that the last day of April for that supplemental year application.
Wow. They really thought about that date, didn't they, when they passed the law?
They never looked at the time, did they?
Thank you. It wasn't me, it was
I know.
somebody watching the meeting.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Before you, the 9.11 AP.22. This is an application that is due on July 1st every year. If it is accepted, the families must reapply every year. We look at traditional enrollments first before these applications are approved, because we would not want to take students that are out of that district, that school, add to the numbers, and then the students that live in those districts would be too many in the classroom. So what's before you was looked at the last time in 2011, and we just want to add the statement in blue. This is for elementary, by the way, only. If the student's attendance, grades, and/or behavior are not in good standing at any time during the school year, the approval may be revoked. It's always said that transportation is the responsibility of the parent or guardian, but we want to add to and from school. And at the bottom, we're just reiterating again that our department has looked at the grades, the attendance, the behavior, so the families, guardians, parents can, reflect on that one more time. KSBA, Ms. Arlene has already sent this to them, and they have reworked what they thought was appropriate. Any questions? And they fill these out for different reasons. Babysitters might be in another district, they purchased a home in another district, want to finish out the year at their home school.
This is a procedure, it's one reading.
I'll make the motion to approve as written.
Motion.
It's got 2.
It has 2.
It has-
We
yeah.
didn't discuss the other
Oh,
one yet,
okay.
the public
It's
records.
different.
It's a little
It's
different.
it's a separate.
So you want both of them?
I can. The next one, it might be easier. KSBA has just made some wording changes and changed Mr. Holland's name to my name. You might want to just put Clark County Public Schools, DPP.
Yeah.
So
Instead
you
of
have to do this
having a name.
again in 7 years, hopefully.
Yeah.
Just totally up to you. You can change it, or you can just leave it in whoever is in that particular position.
I mean, is it better to leave someone's actual name there so they know who they need to communicate with?
Can, just whatever you all would like. Mr. Holland would have more experience in that for the last 10 years or so, so.
Either way. The only thing is it just makes you have to, it dates itself if you have a staff member change.
You'll just have to prove it again.
Yeah.
And you see the other red are just some spelling correction type things that they did.
I kinda like to have a person's name there, so they know who they're communicating.
I'm gonna put
with.
Bill
No, don't. Well, you can,
Tommy. Either way is fine, and then that's all the changes on those two.
Sherry, did you want
Yeah, sure, you can go.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I appreciate that.
I'll second it.
Motion by Ms. Richardson, second by Mr. Tolby. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, item number 12, reconsider approval of new clock PA system at Strode Station Elementary School for $18,550.
I would direct the board's attention to the word reconsider,
Yeah, what's that?
because we were before you in July of 2020, asking for your consideration for purchasing a new clock system for Strode Station. At that point, the system was pretty antiquated, and we couldn't buy parts for it to renovate or fix the system. It's kind of plowed forward up until this point to where the school has recently asked us to turn off the bell system because the bells are a little bit off and it's messing with the instructional days. And we couldn't turn out the bell system because it also is the PA system, which would cause a safety issue with the school. So we're at the point of having now to implement a new clock system. The principal, in consultation with their staff, is asking for the board to reconsider your approval back in July of 2020 for the analog system. At that point, three of you might recall that we asked you to consider a digital clock system for the school. After considerable deliberation, the board voted 5-0 to go with analog because we put analog in Justice and Contract schools. So at that point, we were prepared to proceed, and the school asked us not to proceed until the current system became dysfunctional, which it is now. So I stand instead for Strode and their staff asking for the board's reconsideration of looking at a digital system as opposed to an analog system. It's about a $5,655 difference between the two systems, where it would cost that much more money if you wanted to go with digital. So like Ruth Ann's here, she might want to reflect on that if you have any interest as to why they're so adamant about digital versus analog.
So we never spent the money in July of 2020 to fix the clocks, so that money is still,
It just went back into
That's correct. It just hasn't been initiated. I can initiate that tomorrow without your approval because you already approved it.
right.
They're
So do
asking
we
you
have
to
rescind-
modify and amend that, and add another $5,655 to go with digital as opposed to the analog system.
So the digital's gonna be an additional 5,600.
That's correct, $5,655. It went up a few $100 since July.
What's the digital provide that the analog does not?
I'm sorry.
What does the digital provide that the analog does not?
I would prefer to defer that to Mrs. Chirac if I could.
A school's clock system is basically used for your scheduling, for keeping everybody on track and things like that. A digital clock system is very quick and easy and visible for everyone to read, as opposed to an analog clock system. So it's fast, it's visible, and everybody can stay on the same time. It's great for standardized testing. If kids are watching the clock, they know they've got 10 more minutes. It's very easy and quick to read in that regard too. So I view a school's clock system more of a keeping a schedule, keeping a school building on a schedule and, visible and quick.
But we have analog systems in other schools. right?
Not all of them.
In Justice and Contract, we have analog systems. In Shear, we have a digital system.
What about the others?
I think they're digital everywhere else,
Okay.
except the preschool.
GRC is digital, I think Campbell is digital. Baker, I'm not certain. But I think that is digital.
I know, that's antiquated, but yeah. But I mean, if it would make everybody happy, I would spend probably about $200 and put an analog clock in every room if that's, if you just want that visual of an analog clock to look at. But for scheduling, keeping a building on a schedule and track, a digital clock system is definitely a better way to go.
Why don't we put analog in a couple other schools?
I don't know, that was a Sherman Carter Bernhardt design, and I wasn't particularly involved with that particular design of that school, whatever the rationale was for that. I just don't know.
And I apologize, I didn't look at the minutes from last year. I think it was presented as two options, though.
It was presented as two options. Actually, we proposed going with the digital option, and the board chose to go with the lesser expensive option.
Because the other elementaries were, is that what the?
I think that was part of the discussion, and there was almost a $6,000 difference in that at that time. We were in a different budget cycle. From our perspective, we just need direction on which to install. We have to install something now.
Yes, because it's not working.
Right. But we wanted to, respect the Strode staff and allow them to at least ask you again to reconsider, because that's what they're so adamant on getting.
But you were sent in a direction last year, though.
That's correct.
If I'm not mistaken, I think the meeting was like a virtual meeting, and so there was no input, it was just a board discussion, no input of why we wanted it
Right.
digital. And I had polled my staff and everything.
Mhm.
Well,
I make a motion.
Okay,
I was gonna say, I make
Well,
a
I'll second
motion
that.
What's your motion?
Yeah.
to approve, or I guess, approve the reconsideration of a new clock.
So do we
For-
have to rescind our
I mean, what's-
previous approval for that from
Or-
last year? How did
or
we
do
do
we
that?
update with a,
Okay, $5,655 ad.
You would need to do it would be a motion to amend
to amend,
the board's prior authorization for the PA system, and to amend it to include digital clocks.
okay, and that would include the cost increase?
And the cost, I guess. Well, you're gonna approve the cost of $18,550, so.
Can I ask a question for you, Dustin?
Yes.
What's your recommendation?
I don't remember exactly what the discussion was, other than it was what was in the other buildings. And I think that was felt that would trigger the same request from two more buildings to come in for digital to bring them up to speed too. And I'm not sure where their system is as far as parts and materials and that kind of thing, but I think that's what was taken into consideration. Once you did one, you had two more that you might have to do to bring them up to equal. Make it equal.
I recall some discussion regarding teaching children how to read analog
I
clocks.
think that's part of it too,
And
to read analog clock.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, who reads an analog clock anymore?
My kids?
We don't pay much attention to
They
that.
teach it, don't they?
Yeah, they teach.
We
they
teach it,
Right behind you.
but they don't, I mean, ask somebody under the age of 25 if they have a watch on their wrist. They may have an Apple Watch on, and it's gonna be digital, I don't know. It's just, I'm for replacing them all.
It's
If it's
getting
gonna-
hard, the analogs, we're having trouble changing ours when the time changes.
Oh, I know, Susan, I had one at
It's awful.
Providence.
I mean, and
I mean, it's a
ours are tied
nightmare.
into the PA system too, and
Mhm.
it's a mess.
Doing one and not doing them all.
Yeah,
Ever
have
y'all
to
wanna
do-
have that discussion, but that's where I stand on it.
Because I think it's fair.
Yes, exactly.
Do you wanna have them get a price on, is that what you're saying, to do all of
Well, I
them?
mean, I just think that's fair. If you're gonna do one, you do them all.
Is the other ones having issues?
no,
Susan says
We're
she
having
was.
some
Yeah, Susan just said she was
trouble,
having
and it's
issues.
not, yeah.
But this issue's
This
pretty,
will be fair.
I mean, the PI system is apparently acting up, so this one's pretty urgent.
but her issues have been resolved. That was a tech issue, and
No, not yet on all of them, but we're working on it.
it's a new tech issue.
Okay, so is the motion denied?
No. We have to do a motion to rescind, correct? I didn't do that one.
Amend.
Amend. Verbiage. I make a motion to amend the approval of the previous.
The board's prior approval.
The board's prior approval
For the clock.
for the new clock system at Stroke Station from analog to digital with the additional 6,000, what'd you say?
$5,655.
Arlene, did you get that, 5,000?
I'll second that. I'll second it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was over here. I'm sorry.
Did I think it and not say it? I thought I said it.
Well, I was like, motion. I'm tired. Motion by Ms. Considine, second by Mr. Dalby. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries 4-1.
I do think, though, now we have two schools that don't have what everybody
It'll
else
be on the
has.
summer maintenance list.
Perfect.
Well, then then I would vote for it, but,
Yeah, I kind of figured the next two would be seeing the next two get short.
yeah, I mean, that is my only, that's why my issue is that
You'll be in the same.
it's nothing personal towards Stroke Station. We do it for one, we do it for all.
I understand that. I was getting ready to say gym floor, because I know last year I asked for a wooden gym floor. They've all got one, and that's.
And see, I don't agree with that either, so.
Yeah, I don't have
So
one.
bring your gym floor back.
I'm the only school, I think, that does not have a wooden gym floor. So 5
I don't have a gym.
Oh.
Sorry, I don't have a gym. You
Or clocks.
one after there, didn't you?
You win.
Is that 4-1?
It was 4-1.
4-1.
Actually,
Oh, I thought
actually, well,
Oh, I thought she switched back after
Actually, did you
it
want
was
to
gonna
change
be
your
in
vote?
summer projects.
If it's gonna come on summer projects, I will vote for it, but if it does not come,
we all have to approve it, we can put it on the list, so we have to approve what we do.
alright, then I'll do 5, but then I better see the other schools come see me. I'm just saying. And then I'll see Ruth Ann's gym, I guess. So,
Well, hang on, I need to get in on.
we all know you got plenty. We hear your list. We'll get your 10 million pages.
Are you digital? Are you digital?
Oh, yeah,
Then be
that was
quiet.
a great move. I mean, we had Easter time on 1 o'clock when we had those analogs, we had Central, we had Delta Pacific. That was a good move.
Okay, now that that's settled, acknowledge the Clark, item number 13, y'all done got me all jacked up. Acknowledge the Clark County Schools second year savings report. David Nichols.
Good evening. Late last fall, we had a presentation by PSI on the first year savings, and we knew at that time that we'd have some more data coming in pretty quick. So at that time, we said we would come back in the spring for our second year savings report. And we have that tonight, and we have David Didow and Mike Lindsay here to present that to you, so.
Thank you. My name is Mike Lindsay. I'm the Performance Assurance Manager for Performance Services. My team's job is, after we complete every project, is to measure the energy performance and the learning environment of the schools to make sure the system's delivering what was designed to deliver. And so we track our utility bills on a monthly basis. I have a report that comes to me each week of any building that the energy performance may be outside of what we expect it to be. So we're keeping a good close eye on making sure your buildings are performing from an energy perspective. The other thing we do is we went and actually physically measure the temperature, the humidity, the ventilation level on a CO2 rating, and to make sure that your buildings are performing the way they should. So I've got a short presentation tonight just to go through a summary of the results. This is for 2020. This is the second year of the measuring. We've got 2 different projects we combined that we're measuring here together. So if you look at the second slide, your measured and verified savings for 2020 is $245,990. That's 24% greater than what we had projected or anticipated at the time of the 2 projects combined. We measure and verify that based on the run times of your equipment, how often it's used, the efficiency of that equipment. So we're looking at each piece of equipment, doing engineering analysis of the performance of that equipment. So we're not actually looking at utility bills. Your utility bills are actually down $391,151 for last year. Part of that was just probably COVID related. A lot of that has to do with you've got a really good energy manager and facilities team that makes sure the systems are running when they need to be and they're not running when they shouldn't be. And that's not something we can say for every place we do work with. I'm going to go to the next slide. Like I said, it involves two projects. The first project was a pretty significant upgrade to the heating and ventilating and air conditioning systems at Campbell Junior High. We also did quite a bit of lighting work at that time. Then we followed up with a second project at the elementary buildings that involves some digital controls, more lighting, some more HVAC at Baker. And so the combined savings of those 2 years is $489,646. So the projects are outperforming what we projected, which is what we had hoped they would do. You can go to the next slide. We just look at that combined savings, and you can move on to the next slide if you want. So as I said earlier, we look at both the energy performance and we're providing an optimal learning environment for your students. So you get two advantages to doing a project like this. In addition to the energy savings and the financial benefit, you make sure your systems are reliable, they're something you can count on, providing a learning environment, and you've got measured and verified to ensure that you have great ventilation. That was something people really focused on over the years. In some cases, some people didn't. This past year, it's really put a big spotlight on making sure your systems are working, they're reliable, they're providing the right ventilation you have. And you guys have done that on your system, so that's a great thing to have during this time we've had in the last year. You go to the next slide, and the last thing I wanted to kind of show you there was, as you track EUI, people in Kentucky are most familiar with that. Most states we work in have no idea what that means, but it's really the energy intensity of your buildings, how much energy is used per square foot. And so you started at about just over 50.8 was your EUI in those buildings that we've worked in. That's a really pretty good number. But right now, your buildings are now down 27.7% to a 36.7 number, which is really low. It's extremely good. And again, that goes back to A, you have efficient systems, and B, you operate them in an efficient way, and you make sure the buildings are working right when they need to be, that you're not using energy when students aren't there for learning. And so the last thing I would wrap up with, and we can have if you have any questions, we can address those as well. We're going to start the process of Energy Star certification for some of your buildings, and we're still working through that process to get more data to see how many we can certify. I think it's been a while since you guys have gone through that process. As you can imagine now, it's much more difficult than it used to be to get that certification because it's become a thing people look for. And if you don't know what that means, so any electronics you buy or refrigerators and appliances have an Energy Star label on them. It means they're efficient. Well, your buildings can get rated that same way too. And to do that, you have two things. You have to be really efficient in how much energy you use, and you have to provide a great learning environment. So we have to do an engineering analysis, again, to confirm that you're not saving energy by making it dark and cold and not good in your buildings. You've got to have great energy performance, and we've got to make sure it meets metrics for temperature, humidity, CO2 levels, and those kind of things, light levels, and so forth. So we're going to start that process soon. So moving forward, we're going to continue to watch your bills each month and make sure that it's performing the way it should, and we'll start the Energy Star process. And hopefully we'll be back again sometime soon to say, here's some Energy Star awards for your buildings. I covered a lot in a short time, but is there any questions or anything else we could add? Or,
I have a question. What was the cost of the total project to redo Campbell?
You those projects
We're just short of $8 million, 7.9.
Both projects combined.
Both Campbell project?
It's both projects, yeah.
Yeah, oh, gosh, I have to look at Campbell.
It was, my name's Dave Dowdell, I'm with Performance Services too. I'm the local business development manager. It was about 9.4 combined, the two phases. So, and we're actually doing a preliminary study right now because we've been working with the district for a little over 5 years now, and you know, we're very familiar with the facilities, and along the way we see, and technologies change as well. So, but we see additional opportunities, and we're in discussions with Mr. Christie and Mr. Stump and Mr. Nichols to identify further savings opportunities in the district as well.
If it means anything, when we started this several years back, we were at about 79 EUI comparable. We have more than cut that half in the last few years. That's generated hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings. The next thing we want to look at, that we're talking about now, is going to some one we got, plus the $16 million one we just got, they're saying the 3-point-some million of it has to go toward the education. That leaves 12, 13 million, and their point of emphasis is air quality and controls. And this with the ESSER would be an opportune time to do that. You could almost do it at no cost to the district, and you're going to save thousands every year. Thing we're looking at solar on stroke, going to all LED. The high school was too new when we did this. They were still T5 bulbs. You can go to LED in the high school and generate tremendous savings. All LED. High school is, and the last that we've not heard, it's not changed. It's the most energy efficient high school building in the state of Kentucky. And we've still got work we can do to cut it down even more.
Is there any funds or grants available to be an Energy Star certified school district?
Like rebates or bonuses or
Something, yeah.
There's not any grants with the Energy Star piece. It's, most of those grants like that are rebates for the local utility companies by the state basis. Now, the EPA used to give you a brass plaque, now they send you a piece of paper and a sticker. So,
They could keep that, I was just seeing if we could, if there was any funds or additional, rebates or anything like that, if we become Energy Star certified. Okay. We get a plaque on the building. But still, I mean, it's a.
And you save a lot of money on
You save a lot of
utilities.
money.
I would just like to add, we did the Energy Star certification a couple of years ago. We had 6 buildings that were Energy Star rated, but then they moved the cheese, so to speak.
Yeah.
Made restrictions a lot more. So we actually had a couple of buildings fall off, and I have 4 now that are considered Energy Star. But we're getting to work on it.
So what are the other 2 buildings that are Energy Star? You mentioned.
So right now, we'd be looking, so it'd be Campbell, which
Okay.
upgraded, Cockbright, Stroh Station, and the high school
Okay.
so far.
Also, Mr. Chilbeen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
$13,800.
13A.
All right. Now, I don't even think I got that wrote down right. So Paul, read 13A again.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't
can you
think
read
I-
13A?
Consider approval and renewal of a part-time adjunct teacher at the ATC
EMT.
for the EMT certification program in the amount of $8,700.
That's something we've done out this car has got that.
Thanks, Brian.
But I'll pay for it.
Hello? Sorry. I was looking at my grandson's pictures.
As you should.
Can we explain it? It's just that we've had the EMT adjunct instructor for 2 years. It has to be renewed every year because it has to go before the standards board to get a new certificate. Our current one we've had for 2 years, they work about 8 hours a week. She's retiring from her EMT system, and we've offered employment to a new person, and we just need a board order number so that we can go ahead and start the paperwork to EPSB. It could have waited till next month, but I just don't like to wait. I'm retiring, so I want to get it under my belt and get that going on getting that new certification. So we just thought we'd add it this month so we can go ahead and start on that.
EMT program is a huge program for them out there. They gain immediate employment as soon as they get their certification. They start working here in Winchester. The mayor of the city has been, the fire department has been very complimentary of the students. They've even helped out some COVID emergencies. They've actually called on those kids that are already working to do some work. It's a great program. And it leads, that certification leads directly into the next level at EKU.
So this $8,700 is already.
It's pretty cheap, because it's already, you all do it every year, it's just gone up a little bit.
It's already in.
It's already in the
Okay.
budget.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we pay the person $25 an hour, and they work like 4 hours on Tuesday, 4 hours on Thursday, and we get a lot of career majors from those. It's a great program, and this will be your third year you've approved it.
I'll make a motion to approve 13A as written.
I'll second.
Is that you, Sherry?
Yes.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Talby, second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, item number 14. Are we good to move on to 14, or you need to stand up, Brenda?
I'm good.
Okay. Superintendent's evaluation summative report. It's got Ms. Ritchie, but I was not here for that, so, actually at this time, Mr. Talby is going to read that since he completed that for me this year.
So I believe this report will be made available after this meeting or tomorrow morning, but it'll be made available to the public. So I'll just read this. This is evaluation of the superintendent summary report, Clark County Board of Education, April 19th, 2021. The Board of Education of Clark County Public School District has completed the annual evaluation of Superintendent Paul Christie for the 2020-2021 school year. The past year has been a very challenging one for education in our school district due to the COVID-19 global pandemic. 3 of the 5 school board members have served on the board for at least 1 full year and have been able to observe and be part of the successes/challenges this past year. The evaluation focused on 7 standards of performance for the district agreed on by the board and superintendent. Superintendent Paul Christie received the following ratings and comments. Standard 1, strategic leadership, developing. Comment, minimal to poor communication on the district's plan during COVID-19. Other comment, he has showed tremendous leadership, open-mindedness, and empathy for students, parents, and staff in the school district. Standard 2, instructional leadership, developing. Financial decisions appear to be more focused on facility, security, and athletics rather than on academics. Mr. Christie made sure our teachers were trained during the 2020 summer break to be more versed in Google Classroom to provide the most effective virtual learning environment possible. Standard 3, cultural leadership, meets the standard. The superintendent continues to support the cultural differences we have in our district by employing bilingual teachers. I'm unaware of any district-wide training on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Standard 4, human resource leadership, developing. The superintendent must engage regularly and often with leadership at all levels, and there is little evidence to support meaningful engagement. Mr. Christie and his staff all came together during a crisis and worked together for the betterment of our students and teachers. Standard 5, managerial leadership, meets the standard. No district-wide testing has been developed to determine where all students are in virtual learning. How big are the learning gaps? He understands the importance of each indicator and communicates effectively to the board on each one. 3 indicators specifically are safety procedures, facilities, and budget process. Standard 6, collaborative leadership, developing. The parent survey last year was not timely or effective in gathering the necessary information to make informed, timely decisions. At one point, we were asking parents to adjust their schedules week by week. Mr. Christie has really encouraged a team approach during the pandemic, and his staff has rallied behind him. Standard 7, influential leadership, developing. Clark County was one of the last counties in Kentucky to get back to the school in person. Mr. Christie did not make education a top priority as other counties did. We should never make education an option as we did last year. Mr. Christie works with local and state officials to make sure our district is represented. He is very willing to find common ground for the betterment of the district. The board will be working with Mr. Christie over the next several weeks to develop goals for our district for the 2021-2022 school year. We look forward to working together to make our school district successful.
Made public too. All right, so moving on to item number 15. Consider approval of renewing superintendent contract for 1 year. And that's pretty much.
Ashley, You said you were gonna do a roll call vote on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so no motion needs to be made, you're gonna,
Well, the motion's still gotta be made, yes, and if the motion's made, then I'll do a roll call vote, yes.
okay, I make the motion for non-renewal of superintendent's contract.
Okay, non-renewal. Motion by Ms. Richardson for a non-renewal.
Like have a discussion?
You have to have a second.
You have to have a second first.
Before you can discuss.
I second.
Okay, second by Ms. Considine. So motion by
Mhm,
Ms.
you discuss.
Richardson, second by Ms. Considine. Now you wanna have a
Want
discussion?
to discuss?
Yeah.
I mean, Bill, so you want to discuss?
Well, I'd just like to make a comment. I think we have a lot of people here that I don't know if I can add anything more than what they have stated. I think Mr. Christie has done a really effective job in an unprecedented time on leading this district over the last year. I know me and him hasn't, I think someone said, we've not always agreed on things, but I think he's tried to accommodate as best as he could to everyone, including students, faculty. I wouldn't have won his job. I don't think I've ever would want that job, especially last year. So, I just wanted to, say that I appreciate Mr. Christie and everything he has done.
Would agree. Anybody else have any more comments, discussion? No? We will do a roll call vote, and this is for the non-renewal by Ms. Richardson. So we will start with District 1. That's you.
So I'm voting nay against that.
Okay. District 1 is a no. District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Is that me?
yes.
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5 is a no. Motion passes with 3 yeses, 2 nos.
Can I make a comment?
Sure. You can.
For some of you in this room, that may come as a surprise. For me, it doesn't. I have email, I have text in my pocket right now or on my phone from a former board member that said he talked to 3 of these members that said they back in February, they were gonna vote no on this back in February. I made a phone call to him to verify that he named the names of the 3 that said in February they were gonna vote for a non-renewal. This is 60 days after meeting one of the board members. One of the board members which has never had training on evaluation, never had training on ethics, or never had training on finance. But yet, in 60 days, can find a way to make a vote. When she said, I don't know you, I don't know anything that you could have done any differently to do it any better. But I have that in writing. So I knew this was coming. That being said, it's been a good 8 years for CCPS. I've enjoyed it. I think we've got a lot of work done. I will tell you, there's no doubt in my mind this is a better district than it was 8 years ago. No doubt in my mind. I think there's lots of room to continue to go further. Still got a couple months to go before I'm done. I still got a lot of stuff that I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna get done before the end of time. It's not gonna change some of the things that I've got to do. It may change some of the things that I am gonna do, but it's not gonna change some of the things that I already plan to do. I know that I can walk out of here tonight with my head held high, and I can lay down and sleep tonight knowing that I did the best that I could to keep every teacher, every student, and every staff member safe, working, and employed the entire time. And again, we're better than we were 8 years ago, there's no doubt in my mind. It's been a pleasure. I've worked with some good people. I've been in education 30 years. I've said I'll make a statement. I came in with carrot and I'm going out with COVID. So that's kind of where I am. I've seen a lot of stuff in education in the last 30 years. And by far, my biggest disappointment in 30 years of education to see that this board table in front of me right now. So that's all I'm gonna say. My biggest disappointment in 30 years. That's all I've got to say.
15A, Mr. Tobey.
I'd just like to make a comment, Mr. Christie. Appreciate everything you've done, support you. Please let me know personally if you need anything. Look forward to working with you for the remainder of this school year. I would also like to remind the board members that when we go into closed session, that is a private conversation. Information should not be leaked out to district employees,
Like it was this time.
and that's against KRS. I don't know which one it is, but it's against KRS statute. That's all I'd like to say.
Paul, I want to thank you. I came in with you, and it's been a good run. I appreciate it.
We've done a lot of good things,
We have.
a lot of success. And it's been not because of everything that I've done, it's been because of a lot of people that's in this room, and a lot of people, especially the teachers who are out there in those buildings, that have given of their life and sacrifice, especially over the last year, to make the things happen that we did, that we so have been so unfairly criticized on. You know, one of the things on the agenda, you know, one of the criticisms on the evaluation, he even went to week by week. I thought that was the governor and the commissioner's decision to do that. That was our instruction. We didn't have a choice in that. And that's a criticism on an evaluation. It shows the thought that went into it. So, but that's okay.
Any other board member comments? If not, would anybody like to make a motion or take anything off of the consent agenda items for items 16 through 32? Not that I need a motion for items 16 through 32.
I make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Considine,
I'll second that.
second by Ms. Hendricks. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 33, would somebody like to make a motion to authorize payment of salaries
I'll
and
make
account?
that motion.
Motion by Mr. Tobey.
I second.
Is that you? Okay. Second by Ms. Considine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Richardson.
I'll second that.
Next month, okay.
I'm sorry.
I'll second that.
Ms. Richardson and Ms. Hendricks. All those in favor say aye.
No.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 9:50.